for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Welcome, Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah. How you doing? Today's Tuesday, August 10th, 2021. 223 days into the new year, only 142 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in the middle of nowhere. A total undisclosed location. Right. But it is beautiful. It is. All right, hold on. Man, I got text coming in already. What's going on here? Oh man, this is great stuff. Oh man, yeah, it's been a crazy day. It's been a crazy day, folks. I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planet. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Now, a couple of things I found out today in a roundabout way. I've got to go back and reset some things. One of my compressors is not set up right. And I have a few feeds that go out, and that compressor, I don't monitor that. I can if I go over and hit the switch and listen to it. I listen to another feed that is going out directly. And then what I found is the compressor is bearing my vocals on the intro, and then the commercials are played really, really low throughout the show. Didn't know that. And so I've got to go back and fix that. There are a couple of different feeds that go out, and I think that the Spreaker feed is good. I'm not so sure about the video feed going out, and I'm not really cool with that. So I've got to get that fixed, and I apologize. I didn't know. Last night we had the audio go down in a portion of the show, and you have to remember there's multiple feeds that are going out. So it's impossible for me to listen to all three feeds at the same time or switch between the feeds during the show. I could give a crap. I just want to listen to myself and listen to the guest, and that's it. And throughout history, I've always gone and made sure everything was correct. And I guess I just got a little bit lazy. And there is a button or two and a knob or two on the main network compressor that sits over there. And I'm looking at it right now, and it looks like it's fine. But it's the way that compressors react. I set them up as limiters. Right now they're compressing, and that's not good. That's not tasty. So I apologize for that, and I just didn't know. Okay, what's going into my headphones? It sounds great. At least the Spreaker feed. And so last night the Spreaker feed went down. Not the Spreaker feed, the audio feed in the middle of the show. It was fine at the beginning of the show. I can see the meters. I can see everything running. For some reason, it decided to take a dump, which it should never do, in the middle of the show. So today, or last night, whatever, I pulled off the audio from the video feed because it was complete. And I went and I looked at it and I listened to it. I was like, man, that looks weird. You know, the audio in between the show, the interview itself is fine. It's the blend with the music and the commercials and things and the intro to the show. That was sounding strange. And I was like, man, people have been listening to that. Nobody's complaining because that sucks. So anyway, I'll get it fixed. I couldn't get to it today. I had a busy day. And also earlier, if you were hanging out with this, I went over and did a little thing with Christina Gomez and her show, Histories with the Mystery. So much fun doing that. And she's great. She's great. And so it was a really cool show. And today we did the Majestic 12. You know, she picks, it's her show. And I just get this little warning, you know, okay, Jimmy, you want to join me today? Today it's Majestic 12. No prep, 10 minutes before showtime. I'm like, okay, Majestic 12. What do I, And but it was fun, man. It was really, really cool. So go and check that out. Go and follow Christina. And she's just awesome. I want everybody to go and check out that show today. Again, I just dominated the whole thing, and I feel bad about that. I've got to talk less. It's her show. But it was really cool. So thank you for that, Christina. And she's hanging out in the chat room. So if you want to go and say hello to Christina, you can go over to YouTube and check things out there. Okay, so a couple of things. Tonight, Stephen Bassett is here. We're going to talk about that new Netflix series, Secret UFO Projects. I talked about this last night on the show. Stephen is going to be here at the bottom of the hour. Tomorrow night, Dr. Robert M. Schoch. I cannot wait for this. We will be talking about his book, Forgotten Civilization. This is the new revised, updated edition with new photographs and images and things. So that'll be tomorrow night here on Fade to Black. And there was something else I wanted to mention really quick, and now it just escaped me. Okay, but I've got 3 conferences coming up. One on the 18th, that is Making Contact with Mark Sims. That's the 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st, 22nd, 5-day conference, virtual. You're going to go and hang out. You're going to build an avatar. You're going to go and do that. Get $100 off with Jimmy Save 100, all uppercase. MakingContact.com is where you go for that. I've got everything up in social media, and you can go and click MakingContact.com, promo code Jimmy Save 100. And that's a 5-day event. With my discount code, that's $149 for 5 days with the biggest names out there. And I'm very excited about Eric Weinstein. And everybody's great, but Eric Weinstein. And wow, right? Okay, so go and do that. Immediately after that, Conscious Life Expo. The promo code for that is Jimmy. I've got some other links that I will be posting up tomorrow. That's coming up September 17th, 18th, and 19th. This is an in-person event. 2 locations, Los Angeles, California at the LAX Hilton, and London over in the United Kingdom at the Hilton over there. 8 or 10 hours here in Los Angeles. I'll be hosting in person. I want you to get tickets and come and hang out with me at the LAX Hilton. And then after that, we shift over to London for their portion of the conference. And if you can't be here in person, everything will be live streamed. You can get tickets for that too as well. And you're going to get 3 days, 16 hours a day of streaming content. And so there you go. That's ConsciousLifeExpo.com. Promo code Jimmy will get you, I think, 20% off. I'll have some special links for that starting tomorrow. I just got the links today. And then after that, it's Starworks with Paula Harris, and that is November out at the Aquarius Hotel and Casino in Laughlin, Nevada. Again, StarWorksUSA.com is where you want to go for your tickets and info. I cannot wait for that too as well. So yeah, after not doing conferences for a year and a half, boom, everything is happening and it is exciting. Okay, so I just wanted to get all of that out of the way. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. If you don't follow me on Twitter, I think you should. And I do a lot of hanging out there. But earlier today, I posted a tweet out to J.J. Abrams and to Showtime. I want you to go and check out the tweet, and I want your comments. I tweeted out, did J.J. Abrams use Showtime to project the idea that UFOs are just a cover for U.S. military tech? ? I'm just asking the question. After watching all 4 episodes of UFO, what is your opinion? Now, I hit this out. I don't know if JJ reads his Twitter account. He probably doesn't. I'm sure that one of his producers are monitoring his account. I hit Showtime up for this too as well. I'm just wondering if they are hanging out on social media and getting feedback, or do they even care about the UFO community? You know, and you think about J.J. Abrams and everything. I mean, is he aware? Is he aware? Or does he even care? I'm not so sure. But it would be cool. I'm just throwing this out there to the universe to get J.J. Abrams on Fade to Black. I know that's a big get, and that's a big ask, but if J.J.'s smart, he'll come on Fade to Black and answer these questions. What was the intention? You know, what does he know? Why did he approach things the way that he did? You know, and there you go. So I'm throwing it out there to the universe. You never know what the future will hold. All right, get to the breaking news. Very little breaking news today, but it's big. I don't do politics on this show, but I got to mention this because today, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo resigned. That's right. And it's one of those sort of resignations, by the way. He resigned today. He's out in 14 days. So it's not like he's out of office today. But that was announced. That's pretty big news. And also, just announced, and I'm very sad to talk about this, Rat singer and frontman Stephen Bassett has revealed that he has liver cancer and that he was diagnosed 3 years ago. He's kept everything private until now. And he says that the treatment that he has received and is receiving has been successful so far. So all of our rock and roll thoughts are focused at Stephen Bassett. All right? All right. Let's get this show cracking. Happy birthday to today. Antonio Banderas is 61. Justin Theroux, one of my favorite actors, man, going all the way back to Zoolander. Justin Theroux today is just 50 years old, was great in Zoolander, a walk-off. It's hard to believe that was Justin Theroux. You go back and you look and you see that it is him. But that was a great case. The dreadlocks, you know, it's a walk-off. And he was also great in The Leftovers. In case you didn't know this, Justin co-wrote Tropic Thunder. And he also wrote Iron Man 2, Man of Many Talents. Ronnie Spector today, the one and only Ronnie Spector today is 78, one of the greatest songs in the history of music, and the rock and roll, of course, Be My Baby. Jethro Tull's Ian Anderson today is 74, and INXS drummer, the export from Down Under, John Ferris, today is 60. Our dead guy's birthday today is Bobby Hatfield. 1940 to 2003. Bobby, along with Bill Medley, were the Righteous Brothers. He sang the tenor. That's right. He sang the tenor. And he also sang solo on the group's 1965 recording of Unchained Melody. Their first hit, number one hit, You've Lost That Lovin' Feelin'. What a great song. followed by You Are My Soul and Inspiration. Of course, Unchained Melody and Rock and Roll Heaven. That was a good song, too. Bobby died in his sleep at the Radisson Hotel in Kalamazoo, Michigan on November 5th, 2003, right before showtime, actually. He was found by Bill Medley and road manager Dusty Hanvey. He was just 63 years old. On this day in history, 1977, have you seen Sons of Sam? Have you seen that documentary series? You need to check it out. Because on this day in 1977, David Berkowitz is arrested and charged with being the son of Sam, the serial killer who terrorized New York City for more than a year, killing 6 people and wounding 7 others. Fate or fact? Okay, here you go. Maybe my best one yet. In Arkansas, you can't hold a public office as well as you can't testify in court if you don't believe in the existence of God. That's right. Are you an atheist? Right? You can't or won't swear on the Bible? You can't testify in court in Arkansas. That's right. Well, it's also illegal to hold public office if you're an atheist in Maryland, in Mississippi, in Pennsylvania, in North Carolina, in South Carolina, in Texas, and Tennessee. That's right. That's nuts. You can't, in South Carolina, you can't even be, what's the notary public? You can't be a notary public in South Carolina if you're an atheist. If you can't swear on the Bible, and that is your fate or fact. That's crazy. That's crazy. Tonight, very special guest Stephen Bassett is here. Going to be talking about that new Netflix series. It's out now. It's still trending. It's called Secret UFO Projects. Tomorrow night, Dr. Robert M. Schock, right here on this very program. And then Thursday, it's Fader Night with open lines all night long. I'm going to have a couple of special guests on Fader Night this week, and I will let everybody know. But I want it to be a surprise. But it is your calls, your conversation. You know how we do it on Fader Night. All right, let me hit this River Moon coffee. Ah, yes. Ken Priest. Bring on the rant. Ken, you need to bring on that chicken and biscuits. That's what you need to bring on. Give you my address. I'll bring on the rant. You bring on the chicken and biscuits. Man, Ken Priest has a chicken in a sausage, gravy, and biscuits box at his restaurant. Can you believe that? And finally, in Southern California, I'll be able to drive and get me chicken or sausage, gravy, and biscuits. And in the picture for his restaurant, he's got the sausage, gravy, and the biscuits right in the middle of the sausage gravy. Sausage patty. Doing it right, man. Ken Priest. You're the best, Ken. Everybody go follow Ken. It's Ken Priest right there. How many followers you got, Ken? Okay, Ken, let's triple that by the end of the show. Everybody go and follow Ken Priest. Okay, you know what? I'm going to do this right here. Right now. Everybody follow Ken. Do it now. That's what I do for sausage, gravy, and biscuits. That's what I do. Ken, be careful, man. Be careful. The way to the heart is through the stomach. That's what they say, at least with me. Works for me. All right, bring on the rant. Well, oh, man. River Moon Wellness. River Moon Coffee. It's the best. Go and get it now. Fade to Black blend. Game changer blend. All right. Last night I mentioned all of the recent UFO programming that has hit over the last week. And it's been great. But I saved something for tonight's rant. And that is the new film, The 11th Green. I talked about this earlier on Christina's show, knowing I was going to talk about it tonight. But it's called The 11th Green. Look it up. It stars Campbell Scott. He's great. Love Campbell. Great actor. Agnes Bruckner, which is great in this, by the way. And a very wonderful George Gerdes as Dwight D. Eisenhower. Leith M. Burke as Barack Obama. Ian Hart is James Forrestal. And honestly, it's a huge cast. It's a great cast. Too many to mention, but I wanted to mention a little honorable mention of Curry Graham as Larry Jacobson. He's outstanding. Anyway, back to the film. I expect somebody to post up right now, Fade or Nots, The 11th Green, the link to it. It's on Amazon. I haven't done it, so do it so everybody can see it. Hashtag it, F2B. But anyway, back to the film. The official tagline about the film from the movie company is this, quote, "A respected journalist uncovers the truth behind the mythology of President Eisenhower's long alleged involvement in extraterrestrial events," end quote. Holy crap, right? Okay. All right. That may be the overall picture here, folks, but honestly, it's not even close to how cool this film really is. First, it's low budget. It is. And I love it. But somehow, they were able to shoot period segments from the 50s and the 60s pretty convincingly. It's really well done. Seriously well done. The film is totally cool to look at. And let's face it, you know, you can have the most amazing script. That's great. You got a great storyline. You got great actors. But if it's not pleasing on the eyes, right? That's the bonus here. I don't know how they pulled it off, but they did. It's pretty tasty. All right? Well, now that I've gotten that out of the way, if I was able to make a picture on this subject, right? Eisenhower and ETs and a treaty, right? I would totally go for it. I wouldn't hold back. So this is my idea for the film. If I was able to be the director of a film like this, I would take today, say, like what they did, President Obama, and after he's left office, and have him contemplate disclosure. Did he pull it off right? And maybe have Obama put on some headphones, right? And plug in and meditate. Have Obama go back into a deep trance state. Have Obama then travel to another dimension in the afterlife. Have him meet up with Ike. Yeah, sit down with Ike and talk about the ET question. Maybe what arrangements that he made back then. You want the inside story. You want the poop. You got to get it straight from Ike, right? Why didn't Ike go after disclosure back then? And what needs to be done today, Ike? What can I do? What can Barack do in the year of 2021? And have Ike just sit there in this other dimension and speak freely on the subject, disclose everything that he talked about with E.T., right? Who E.T. actually was, where this was done, and how and where to contact them today. Throw that in. That's what I would do. Barack would come out of his meditation with answers, and go and start to get things done, right? You would have the light and dark forces in play, those that do and don't want disclosure. And then Obama would pop the headphones back on, after he's met his challenges and take everything back to Ike, right? Get his opinions on what to do next. You know, and of course, Barack would get to meet E.T., right? You got to have that. And then you would have your hero's journey playing out, you know, where you get the mission, you leave home, you defeat the evil forces, and then you return home, the hero, right? That's what you would do. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. If somebody would just let me. Great idea, right? Well, that's what writer and director Christopher Munch did in The 11th Green, and much, much more. The movie is so fun, and yes, at times it's intense. You got to have that, but you got to let go of everything that you know for this. Just enjoy the ride. The whole thing is set up in Palm Springs. You've got the journalist chasing a story. The journalist doesn't believe in ET, but he's got a company that says it has anti-gravitic tech for its new commercial airliner. And then the whole thing shifts back to 1967 when Ike and Mamie visit Palm Springs. And, you know, what happens on the 11th green of a golf course, hence the title of the film. Pretty cool. And then you immediately get a young Barack Obama, you know, on the beach in Hawaii hanging out with Ike. What? Right? What? Yeah, right? You get John Kennedy. You get Forrestal. And it's just so well done. All the way to Obama, traveling to another world to sit down with Ike and figure out how to handle disclosure. This film has it all. It's great. Now, there was so much more to this picture, and honestly, I haven't given away a thing. As much as I have just told you right now, I haven't told you anything. There's so many plot twists. And the ending is like divine perfection. I just told you why to watch it, and you should. Films like this don't get made every day, and people that take these kinds of chances are even rarer still. So hats off to Christopher Munch. Well done, Chris. Seriously. And I want all of you to check out The 11th Green today. You can thank me later, okay? It's called The 11th Green. I am your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black tonight, right here. Stephen Bassett. Stephen Bassett, we're going to be talking about that new Netflix series. It is out and trending right now. It's called Secret UFO Projects. Tomorrow night, Dr. Robert M. Schock joins us. Going to be talking about his new, revised, and updated edition of Forgotten Civilization. Thursday night's another Fader night with open lines all night long. All right. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Race Hobbs. All right. I'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. Introducing the Game Changer blend from Rivermoon Coffee that delivers a customized blend made specifically for the Fadernauts. If the game is rigged, change the game. It's a bolder cup with some bite. Game Changer is the coffee of choice for those that prefer an organic dark roast that is slightly lighter and milder, but it's still dark. With wild notes of pecans and chocolate with a rich, balanced, full-bodied cup that is roasted to perfection for a great coffee to start your day, as an after-dinner coffee or anywhere in between. Artisan, small batch roasted to perfection. USDA certified organic, all Rivermoon coffee is freshly roasted and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2B Blend for 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact. KGRAradio.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, folks. It's troubling times, and fear is pushing emotions, which in turn pushes health the wrong direction. Do you ever get an ache because life is uneasy? Try Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. Life Change Tea works on your digestive tract, helping to move food through quicker and comfortably so your health is spot on. Life Change Tea may not help with world issues, but it will help with your digestive issues. A glass a day helps keep the intruders away. So, change your life today. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. If your health game is off, get on by ordering Life Change Tea. Getthetea.com. And while you're on our site, look around at the great non-GMO organic supplements. And if you're a sales shopper, go to our specials page and see what's for you. I've been drinking the tea for 12 years, and I'm sure glad for its health benefits. Again, that's getthetea.com. Getthetea.com. The tea that makes you go.
Fadernauts. When you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the planet.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey. You're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? Tonight, Stephen Bassett. Tomorrow night, Robert M. Schock. Thursday night, Fader night with open lines. But tonight, it's all about Stephen. We're going to be talking about that new series that is still trending on Netflix, and we will discuss all of that in depth tonight. Stephen is also the executive director of the Paradigm Research Group, founded all the way back in 1996 to help end a government-imposed embargo on the truth behind the so-called UFO phenomenon. Stephen has been a part of this community for a very long time. In 2013, PRG produced the Citizen Hearing on Disclosure, the National Press Club in Washington, D.C. On November 5th, 2014, PRG launched a Congressional Hearing political initiative seeking the first hearings on Capitol Hill since 1968. He is a foundation and a pillar of this community. I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black, Stephen Bassett. Stephen, how are you, my friend?
Excellent, Jimmy. Excellent.
Just excellent? I mean,
yeah,
excellent, you know, that's a pretty high bar. Where do you go above excellent?
I go to ludicrous.
Yeah, you go to ludicrous. Still my favorite movie. I believe that Spaceballs is a documentary, by the way. That's how many times I've seen that film. And, you know, Stephen, I was thinking about doing this. I'm going to do it now. The first time you and I met, but you don't remember. All right? And let me tell you why. I'm going to take you back. I'm going to take you back many years. There was, I start Fade to Black. I'm now a co-host on Coast to Coast. People know my voice. They don't know my face, right? So I go to see Roger Lear in Marina del Rey. Okay? This is a long time ago. And Yvonne Smith had invited me, but nobody knows who I am. And I stood in the back of the room. All right? I meet Roger, and he died right after that. He passed away right after that. But anyway, you are there. And I was like, okay, there's Bassett. Okay. So I walk up, and you had a table with some books and some things there on the table. But you're standing there dressed in black. You were being Stephen. And I come up, and I'm looking at your stuff, and you come up and start talking to me. And we have this conversation, but I don't introduce myself. And I walked away, and I thought that was pretty cool. But I was intentionally running under the radar. Now I'm going to ask you, do you remember that?
It might help if you told me the event. You recall the event?
It was Roger Lear speaking.
That's it?
Yeah.
It wasn't a conference? It was just him speaking?
Yeah, it was an Yvonne Smith Ciro meeting.
Oh, yeah. I went to a couple of those, and no, I don't remember.
How funny is that?
What can I say?
Yeah, no, I know you don't remember it. And I stood in the back of the room and watched everything, and I just, I wanted to hear what Roger Lear had to present. One of the things that was amazing to me about that particular meeting, there was a pretty decent crowd there. I would probably say maybe 75. I don't think it hit quite 100, but a pretty good audience to hear Dr. Roger Lear speak. But he said something at that presentation, and he turns to the audience and says, "How many of you believe that you have an implant?" I thought, wow, that's a great question, right? And I'm going to say, Stephen, half of the people raised their hand. Do you remember that?
No, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
It's Roger Lear speaking, right?
Yeah,
He's
right.
famous for dealing with contactees and implants. And so if you got an implant, you got to go see Roger.
Yeah. And I was totally blown away by half of the audience, raising their hand. But it was really cool, and I got to chat with him briefly. But he passed away like right after that. He was limping that night, if you remember. He was limping.
I could tell you a story about that time. That was the same period. I'm pretty sure. No, that was before. Well, not too long before that. I was holding a group meeting once a month in Marina del Rey. We called it the ET Media Group. And it was specific, and we had a big list of people that we would send out the notices to. And these were all people pretty much in the film business, film, television, whatever. And there were others that would come, but we were trying to get connected to those individuals. And we had good meetings, 50, 60, sometimes 70 people in a studio there. And Roger would usually come. And he would have his friends with him, and I forget the woman that was his principal companion that would help him get around. But Roger, I knew Roger was near the end. I mean, he was not in good shape. So we had the Roger Lear, what do we call it? The Roger Lear Chair for Environmental Studies, and it was everybody had standard seats there. Your standard seats you get in a hotel. But he had a special, chair, right, with all the nice arms and everything else. And he would sit there and he would present, and he loved coming to this, and he enjoyed it immensely. And he got a lot of people come up, say hello, and he got some attention. And I was so happy to have done that. It went on for about a year. We did this because he did not last much longer. As as is happening to a number of us. In fact, I'd like to mention right now that we just lost a very important person in our field. And of course, I'm referring to, people that don't know this, to the Honorable Paul Hellyer, the former Deputy Prime Minister of Canada and Foreign and Defense Minister. And this is what tears me up, is that this was a righteous man, a very religious man who led a very righteous life, took great care of himself. He was 98 years old, and he was fine. He was mobile. He was getting around. He was great. He fell on some stairs going down into the garage at his big building. You know, it's one of those underground garages, and he hit the cement, and he never recovered. So he died from an accident at 98. And why does this trouble me? Well, I mean, he lived a great life, obviously. He had a full life, but we're so close to disclosure. And he's been out on this issue since 2005, when he first came forward as part of Victor Vigiani's presentation at the University of Toronto, which I attended, Stanton Friedman attended, and Richard Dolan, where he had become convinced that clearly this was real and that it needed to be addressed, and he spoke out to it. And he has stayed with it ever since, adding that gravitas and specialness that a man of his stature can provide, making it a little easier for perhaps some other people to come forward, politicians and so forth. Wrote 4 books in that time, had another book ready to be printed just before his death. I think he's written 12. What a life. And so we lost him. And he didn't get to see disclosure, which I still believe is this year. Assuming another pandemic variant doesn't show up and kill all of us. So that's someone else. And we've lost others, as you know. And what kills me about this the most is that the truth embargo is now in its 74th year. I like to say 47 is the beginning. So the truth embargo has basically now lasted a standard lifetime, pretty much.
Yes.
And it just outlived the guy who was born in 1923. And every time somebody dies, the truth embargo has outlived them. And this irritates the hell out of me, right? 30 years, 40 years, okay, maybe. But 74 years, you're going to keep lying about something consistently day after day after day? Bugs me. So anyway, we lost him.
Yeah, we lost him. And the community doesn't lose sight of this, in that I was recently down in Los Angeles, and I went out to dinner with Linda, Whitley Strieber, Richard Dolan, William Henry, and myself. And so we're at the table, and we're talking about the UAPTF report. This is just a few weeks ago, and we're talking about that, and we're talking about disclosure and where we are today and how exciting things are. And then the conversation shifted, and it shifted very quickly to Stanton Friedman and Jim Marrs. You know, 2 guys that dedicated their life. It goes without saying, right? Just dedicated their lives to the moment that we are living in right now. And I just hope that they are, like Paul, that they're looking down at this right now and are just as excited as the rest of us are. But it sucks, man, that Stanton can't be here. It sucks that Jim Marrs and others, because we've lost so many. But we took the moment to recognize.
Yeah, Jim, of course, died a little bit early because he had diabetes. Stanton made it to 85. And by the way, Roger was coming to those events, talking to us and meeting everything right up to near the end of his life. Never stopped. Died of a heart attack in the doctor's office, getting checked up so he could probably maybe get a few more years. Stanton said he'd retired, but nobody believed that. So he kept speaking to some more events. He died in the airport back from speaking at a conference, right? In the airport.
Yes.
This is the kind of people who have gotten into this issue and stayed with it right until the last days of their life. And so for those in government that think that we just need to kick the can down the road a little bit more and they'll all go away, or if we can come up with a new cockamamie story to go away, we're not going away. We're never going away, and we will prevail in this.
Yeah, and these are truly exciting times. And speaking about, excuse me, this new series on Netflix and the timing of things, this is what I found interesting about it, and then I want to jump into it as deep as we can. That this was shot 2 or 3 years ago at the International UFO Congress. And it's a moment in time where everybody's mindset was different 2 or 3 years ago, and where we are today. And I think that's actually a pretty cool part of this documentary series, where we can all go. And I mean, Richard Dolan's in it, you're in it, Alejandro Rojas is in it, Mary Rodwell, and others, where we can go and honestly see freshly where everybody was back then. I think that's an interesting way to look. It's like a time capsule.
It's more than that. Let me expand a little bit. They have been filming that for 3 years. They filmed my interview not that long ago. They came to my office in Washington, D.C., studio office that I have, and filmed it right there. And they're using software that allows you to put a background behind the speaker without using a green screen. This technology is now available. And so you see the same background behind all the speakers, but they're not in front of that background, and they're over where they were. So they were filming right up until recently, but clearly the material goes back. So they've been doing it for 3 years. Huge amount of work went into this 6-part series. A huge amount of work went into this. Again, 3 years. And the things that were most notable to me is that there must be 24, 25 members of our community that are interviewed in this thing. Mm-hmm. It's just everywhere, almost everybody, almost everybody, but a very substantial representation of the people in the field, which of course deserve to be in such docs, and particularly this one, because it is a Netflix special. This is number 5 in the top 5 of what's being seen. Millions of people are going to see this, and so you've got many of the people we know and our colleagues are getting some wonderful exposure on Netflix. Now, of course, it's not the only series that just dropped. As you know, we've got another one that just dropped on Showtime. And this is a different approach. This is the high end. This is the big boys and girls getting involved here. Bad Robot, executive produced by with executive producer J.J. Abrams and Bad Robot. It doesn't get higher in this town than that. I mean,
no, it doesn't.
He's A-list. He's double A-list. And so he just put millions of dollars into a 4-part series about this issue, absolutely about this issue, totally serious. And that drops. Not only did it cost millions of dollars, they're spending millions of dollars to advertise it. Now, the other one is a series that was being put together by these two fellows. I think they're from Germany, slogging away. And I think what happened is, I could be wrong, but Netflix was kind of aware of this, and they said, hey, guys, get in here. Let's get this thing done. Let's get it done. Let's wrap it up, and we're going to drop it out there. Because Netflix became aware that JJ was going to drop his series. And so what they did, and he was going to drop it all at once on Showtime streaming, and then on the Showtime channel once a week, which he's done. They don't have a, quote, channel, but they have the streaming. And they had originally said, I think, that they were going to drop it one a week for 6 weeks, but then they changed that and dropped the whole 6 right away. Why? Because they're competing with JJ for the eyeballs. Why are they doing that? Because this issue is now fully mature. This is a happening thing. And so you had the New York Times articles, you had development slowly building after that, and somewhere in this last 4 years, the biggest guys in Hollywood, the biggest men and women in Hollywood, producers and what have you, realized, my God, the biggest story of all time is getting ready to run. And we are not going to sit on the sidelines. And so there are projects all over this town. And I don't mean just simple stuff. I mean complex stuff, multiple series, documentaries, films, and so forth. And some of the top people in this town are involved. And that's not because, gee, they needed something to do, or that, we got to make a film. What are we going to? No. Everybody is trying to get on this bandwagon. And so now you've got streaming services competing with who can get their stuff out the fastest and dropping it all at once. Because, this is the biggest story of all time. It was 74 years ago. It was 34 years ago, and it is the same today. And so I ask people to enjoy it, watch it, and appreciate that it took a long time to get to the point where the likes of J.J. Abrams would put that kind of money behind a very high-end, high production value doc that didn't feature lots and lots of our colleagues, but did cover some people we know, particularly more recent, a lot of witnesses and things like that. So it was a different approach. And I'm glad that they both dropped about the same time, because people are seeing two sides of this. They're seeing the very high-end, high production value version with interviews of the latest witnesses, and that's fine. And then there's this other doc that's going through the whole history chronologically, and you're seeing 10, 15, 20 of the researchers and activists that we all know and love having their time on the camera. So it's all good.
There was don't sell the Netflix production short, because there were some things that were done. Obviously, I think there were two Czechs, Czechoslovakians. They go back. And they assemble some of the best animation to cut into this that I have ever seen. And it is really cool, man. It is really well done. And I really appreciated that. But anyway, as I'm watching, I'm like, man, how much time was spent on this? This is not, a bunch of talking heads, which is always great. I really enjoy that. And then the credits roll. That's not the case here. They really artistically put this together for a very modern production. It's really well done, Stephen.
It is. It's again, you don't want to compare anybody's documentary to something that could come out of Bad Robot or Sutter House. You don't want. That's just not a fair comparison. Okay, but it's fine. It is excellent. And it has a lot of material. I binge watched the whole thing. That's almost 4.5 hours. And you got to be relatively good to be able to binge watch something for that long. So again, this is the beginning of an onslaught of high level content that's going to be coming out of Hollywood, streaming services, because this issue has arrived. It's fully arrived. And I think a lot of the top people in this town have a pretty good idea where it's going. They have connections that I don't have, I assure you. They have people they can call, like, hey, I'm thinking about doing a doc on the subject. What's going on down there? And they go, oh yeah,
right.
Because these are multi-million, 100 millionaires with very powerful friends. So that's another reason why we're not going backwards on this. I mean, we're going just forwards. We're going to get the hearings. We're going to get disclosure.
Now, we've got about 5 minutes before the break, and then we'll carry the answer to this question over into the next segment. But you just said this town 3 times. We all know that you are based out of Washington, D.C., but right now you're in the thick of things. You're in Hollywood, California.
I am in Hollywood, California, and I've got some things to say about that after the break. Fairly important announcement. I can't go into all the details. That will come later, probably not much later this month, but it's fairly significant development for PRG, and so I'll be telling you about that. But I've been in Hollywood now for about, 3 weeks. Initially, I was in a Motel 6 right off Hollywood Boulevard. I spent a lot of time walking up and down Hollywood Boulevard, the East End, and Vine. And let me tell you, it's funky, right? Yeah, very, very funky. It's very different. But I've stepped on a whole lot of movie stars in the first 10 days I was here. But now I have a place. And so anyway, it's there's news here, and I look forward to.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that. This is I have. And like you, I've been a part of Hollywood and the scene here since 1984. And that's a pretty long time. And I've seen Hollywood change. But I got to say, when I got here in 84, that area that you're talking about right now, that was a real different world back then. And Hollywood will always have that certain character about it. It's going to be the same way in 100 years. It was that way in the 50s. It is just a very, very interesting 2 or 3 miles of street. It's pretty crazy.
Certainly, and now, of course, but now in West Hollywood is where the action is in terms of all that super deluxe stuff, and it's very nice and so forth. And this is old Hollywood, and it needs some attention. It really needs to get some attention because it's declining, and it's not shouldn't happen. But this was the old Hollywood, and my studio apartment where I'm living in now is like just 2 blocks from the Paramount Studios. I mean, this is where it used to be a long time ago. Now. And I'm staying. Oh, by the way, I'm staying in a little studio that's in a cottage grouping. That's where you have like little studios that are like one after another in a kind of a rectangle.
It's like a U. It's shaped like a U. The entrance is on the street. That's the open end of the U.
That's right.
And
yeah,
then
some it's a U, some it's a rectangle. This is a rectangle, and it's all the nice little flowers and the plants are always very nice, all good. This was built in the 1920s. And I just know that in the 30s and 40s or whatever, that some of the biggest stars that we know when they were just starting out probably lived. It spent some time at one of these little studios. So it's like a throwback to the 20s, and I love it, right? It's so cool. But let me be clear. I've spent time in Los Angeles, at Marina del Rey, San Pedro. Not in I spent some time above Sunset Strip, but let me tell you, no. This is my first exposure to Hollywood close up and personal. You've been in there for 40 years, so I'm not a Hollywood guy. I consider myself an Angelino because I know how to get around without getting stuck in a freeway, which is critical if you're going to be an Angelino. But I'm not a Hollywood guy, and I don't know if I ever will be, but I'm going to be spending a lot of time here over the next many years, I think.
When you tell me that you ate at Popeye's Chicken on Hollywood and Vine, you drop that on me, you've arrived.
I ate a chicken sandwich there every single day for like 6 days. I was addicted to them. I hadn't really eaten those. And I'm going in there and I'm slamming $3.49 down.
Yeah.
And of course, the trick is you got to get in there before the line starts. All right. Because it's COVID time, right? And so I'd go by, the line would be long. So I'd cruise around some more, walk up and down. Then I'd come back, then I'd go in. And they knew me by name. Right. And so fortunately, I've now moved far enough away that I'm getting down off the chicken sandwich thing. But
okay.
Yeah.
Now, here, check this out. All of those finely tailored suits that you see me wearing were purchased across the street at Hollywood Suit Outlet. That's where I get my suits. They know me by name there, too.
Yeah, there's several places there that are nice, but in a mix of some things that are you consider like pretty cool and everything else, you've got, wow. I mean, it's
crazy.
Wild and crazy. All right.
Oh, man.
And a lot of it's the pandemic. I think once the pandemic is passed, I think the city is going to get in and tighten things up. Look, there are tents all over East Hollywood. There are tents on Vine. There are tents on Romero. Sometimes groupings of 6, 7, 8. There are mattresses that are down on the sidewalk, and people are staying on the mattresses. No tent. There are people on Hollywood Boulevard that are sleeping on the sidewalk directly. There's nothing. They're just face down on the sidewalk out cold. Okay, this is not good. The pandemic is part of it. All these tents are illegal, but the police are just not bothering them because they just don't have an answer there. And I get that. And thank God tents are cheap, and it's really possible to get a really cheap camping tent. And that's been great for the people that are in this situation, because before the tents were cheap, they put together whatever they could. But it's really striking, and I'm anticipating that we're going to see some help here. I hope they don't. Well, the infrastructure package, I hope it has something to help the people that are living in all the tents in East Hollywood. We're talking hundreds and hundreds, and that's just a small section of East Hollywood.
Yes.
Let's deal with this. Let's help the people that really need the help. and so they don't have to live in a tent illegally on the sidewalk of some of the best-known streets in the country.
Let's take our break right here. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Stephen Bassett. Wow, when we come back, we're gonna take a bit of a dive into this new Netflix docu-series. It's 6 episodes. It is still trending on Netflix. So when you go to Netflix, you look at the top 10. It's right there. Click on it and check it out. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
This is Billy Carson with ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Forbidden Knowledge TV has just reached its 1-year anniversary. That's right, 1 year. And as a show of appreciation, we are giving all new subscribers a free 30-day trial of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. That's 30 days to binge watch thousands of movies, documentaries, conferences, workshops, lectures, yoga classes, meditation courses, and so much more. So log on to ForbiddenKnowledge.tv from your computer or mobile device, or get the Forbidden Knowledge TV app on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon, iTunes, or Google Play today, and use coupon code 30daysfree. That's coupon code 30 days free on ForbiddenKnowledge.tv today.
Because you never got that pony you always wanted. Damn it. Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network. KGRADB.com.
Listen, I know, and you know, that you've always wanted your first crystal skull. Or maybe you're a collector just like me, but you just don't know where to go to find the real thing. Then I met Carolyn Ford over at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. Carolyn is the guardian of Einstein, one of the most respected ancient crystal skulls in the world. All of her unique skulls have been imprinted sitting with Einstein in his sacred lodge and are carved from the finest gemstone and materials. Imprinting is the process of receiving the ancient wisdom from the master skull or master computer. Einstein, the ancient crystal skull. To see Carolyn's current collection of crystal skulls, just visit her store at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com or click on the banner over on our site. Don't forget to use the promo code Jimmy at checkout to receive 10% off of your order today. That's promo code Jimmy. Finding your first or next crystal skull is easy. Just visit EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B Blend for 15% off of your order today.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And this is Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers. We're also Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers. and you're listening to Jimmy Church. The Revolution.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Stephen Bassett. And here's the deal. Hollywood is jumping on things. They've always, we've had all of the alien and ET contact drama movies and science fiction that we can handle. I watch them all. I enjoy them, of course. Lots of documentaries and things. But it's a different world today. There's no doubt about it. And I started to speak last week about everything that was kicking off this week. And not only did we get that, but I just mentioned this new film. It's called The 11th Green. And it's a tremendous film. It's science fiction. It's drama. It's script-based, but it's well-made, and it's very, very cool. And I would suggest that everybody check that out, too. But now we've got Stephen Bassett. Somebody said, go west, young man. Stephen, what brings you to Hollywood?
There has been a significant development for Paradigm Research Group, which I have not said anything about, and I'm going to talk about it tonight for the first time on your show. I can say some about it. I can't go into specific details until probably later this month, maybe toward the end of August. But the upshot is this. This began in March of this year. Some discussions and back and forth, and it ended up resulting in Paradigm Research Group is formed a partnership with one of the major production companies in Hollywood to do multi-projects, including a documentary and more, and so forth. And the people that are going to be attached to it are known. A lot of people in this town will recognize them, and so forth. So this is high end. This is about as high end as you can get, and so I'm excited about it. And so, in order to service this new arrangement, I now have a place in Hollywood, as well as keeping my office in the National Press Building. I'll be in both places. I'm bi-coastal. I always wanted to be bi-coastal, Jimmy, and it finally happened. It took a long time. Anyway. And one of the things that's part of this production deal is the disclosure wire, which I've held off really launching. I just didn't. I wanted to do it right. I wanted it to be at a certain level, and I had a lot of limitations where I'm at back in DC. I have a nice little studio office, and I could do it there, but I didn't have the equipment. I didn't have the expertise, and so as part of this deal, the disclosure wire will launch soon enough. Only it's going to have the finest equipment that you can have. A studio is going to be its top line, and there's going to be one in Hollywood, and there's going to be the studio is going to be fitted out in Washington, the National Press Building. The great thing about that is that when it's possible to do live guests again, which I hope is soon, obviously it's easier to get people from the West Coast to be live in a podcast interview than have to cross the country. And then, of course, back in Washington, I can get political people, I can get journalists. So I'm hoping we're going to be able to develop a podcast with some very high-end people, maybe people that have not talked about this issue before, and they will be filmed and recorded in a very high quality as possible. And we'll develop a podcast of value because, hey, it's a podcast world now. And I didn't want to just jump in unless I could offer something different and also in good quality. So this is going to be part of this multi-production deal, which I expect to be in the rest of my career. I'm incredibly blessed that it happened and lucky to some degree. And you actually played a part in this which I cannot talk about tonight, but I will at some point explain why you actually played a part in making this all happen.
Oh, well, that's cool. Yeah. I didn't know about that. So let's, let's have dinner and drinks. I would love to hear.
Absolutely. And I'll buy, man. I owe you big time. And I will definitely buy dinner and drinks at your restaurant of choice.
Oh, I've got an idea where we can do that. I'll knock a hole in that card. Okay. I'm just letting you know. Okay. You cool with that?
Sure, I'm cool.
Okay, all right. Everybody heard it. We'll post the check online.
We'll post pictures from the dinner. Absolutely. But this needs to be recorded.
Now the talk from somebody from Hollywood is always pretty smooth, and you're a smart guy. So when you're hearing somebody pitch, what are you looking for? What is it that would, get your interest? And how did you put this together?
Hundreds of emails and many hours of on the phone, and then I came out for an initial shoot, which will ultimately end up being the teaser trailer on this initial doc project. And then I came out again. I'm looking for authenticity. Mm-hmm. I'm looking for integrity. Mm-hmm. I'm looking for no BS, all of which you can find in abundance in Hollywood. But I assure you, there are a lot of great people here, and you just need to look for them, and you need to be worthy of their interest. All right. But as I told my new partner, almost everything I know about Hollywood comes from Entourage. And he told me, oh yeah, that's how I learned everything about Hollywood too. And I felt after watching that whole series, man, I could handle that. I can maneuver. I know what to look for. Actually, that's true. That is very much how Hollywood is at one level, but that's not all it is. And seriousness, integrity, all of these things. I have been incredibly lucky that I have found a person who represents another group you couldn't ask for better. And a lot of these people are involved in what is now the new power center in Washington. And it is post-production. I don't know if you're aware of this huge shift, but there was a time when the directors, always the actors had influence and power, of course, but directors had a great deal of power, as well as the production people, the people that are filming, the lighting people. They're union and they have a lot of influence. That has shifted. And the reason it shifted is quite simple. Post-production has become more important to movies than the production. And to give you an example, I won't give a specific example, but I mean, I'm giving you a reasonable representation, an example. You can have a movie that costs $200 million to make, and it'll go out and it'll make $600 million, right? Because these kind of pictures they can crash, but the most they can lose is the cost of the production, whereas they can make 3 times that, and they may spend $30 or $40 million on the shoot, right? They'll spend $160 million on the post-production. So if you're a post-production specialist, genius, or a group therein, just do the math. Your influence and power is growing and has been growing for a long time. And so I am fortunate that I'm really dealing in that world, so that while everything else is available, I'm hooked up with some of the best post-production people in the business. And that really is, again, I'm so lucky. My only regret is I wish it was happened 20 years ago, but I'm not going to bitch. I'm not going to complain. So I look forward to more announcements about this when I can get into specifics, hopefully no later than the end of August, very early September. But I'm not the only one that is involved in big projects right now. I'm not the only one that is suddenly been reached out to by and I know of some rights. I just know of a number of projects that you can't talk about, So this town is going crazy for this issue. Now, there was another period when things got a little rambunctious because I think some people in this town thought things were going to get cooking. And I'm referring to the period of around 2001, 2002. This was a few years after the Rockefeller Initiative wrapped up. And Clinton was out of office. Bush won, but still, a lot of people in this town, I think, got pretty excited about the Rockefeller Initiative and the fact there was effort to try to get the files and everything. They thought, hey, wow, this is happening. Cold War is over. Rockefeller was still alive. And it was during that period, about 2-year period, when Spielberg invested $100 million to, at that point, produce the longest series ever for television, Sci-Fi Channel, called Taken, which was a series ahead of its time. It was about contact, and it was about abduction and contact. And it was serious. It was not. There was no comedy in this show at all, and it also was about the truth embargo. They represented the truth embargo in a theatrical way, in which it was housed in a group of a family, father, son, and so forth. That were Air Force, military, and they were kind of the ones that were containing the issue and so forth. Obviously, that's an extreme simplification. But they did represent the fact that the government was hiding all this, was embargoing this 20-hour series. And as part of Sci-Fi's funding or distributing of that, I think Sci-Fi paid for it. Spielberg, of course, was the producer. So Spielberg has obviously jumped into the issue. 2002, huge. And at the same time, the Sci-Fi Channel put up the money to launch the Coalition for Freedom of Information, which was intended to go Washington, mainstream, public relations company, high-end law firm. They hired Leslie Kean to be the researcher. This was inside Washington Beltway stuff. They interviewed me. The interview didn't go too well, so I didn't get brought in, which I can get because I'm a friggin' crazy populist activist. But the point is that this was a big deal, and the coalition lasted for a while. They had a website up there at the Sci-Fi Channel. So that was another example when Hollywood thought something was going on, and there may have been some other productions that I've forgotten about, but things didn't happen. We went off, well, the next year after the Coalition for Freedom of Information launched is when we went to war in Iraq, which was probably not one of the better segues that the government has conducted. And so it all slowed down. And then 18 years later, 2002, 15 years later, it starts again with the New York Times articles and the emergence of the group out of the military intelligence complex. And this was another level above that. It was much higher than that. And it caught fire and is now pretty much heading right toward the conclusion. So this is not the first time that Hollywood has gotten the passion, but this time it's going to stick. And I can assure you that all of the top people in this town are already looking toward this post-disclosure world, imagining what content would we put together, what would we have ready to go out the door when all 7 billion people on this planet learn they're not alone in the universe, and we've got ETs engaging us right now, and their hair is all on fire. I assure you, they will not let that opportunity pass, and God knows what kind of series, streaming and otherwise, are going to emerge out of this town at a time when we have the production ability and the graphics ability to represent anything, even if it's real, but to represent it incredibly powerful. So the post-disclosure world will even be more expansive than what we're seeing now.
How would you, and I've thought about this so much, how would you approach making a documentary today that would separate you from everything that has been done in the past? If you've got a canvas in front of you that is clean, and you've got a production company that says, okay, here you go, Michelangelo, how do you approach it?
Well played, Mr. Church. Now, if I go there, then essentially I'm getting into what I can't get into. Be assured that at the appropriate time, I will give you some background as to how what will be announced came together and the approach and so forth. But I can't do that now, Jimmy. But I will say this. Yeah, absolutely. We are trying to do this in a different way. approaching it from a different perspective with a certain kind of tone that will take it to a place that it hasn't been before. I mean, that's the hope, right? I mean, until it's done, you don't know. But one thing's for sure, we're going to take it to a place that is worthy of this issue and its importance, and worthy of the sacrifices made by so many people for 74 years. Not that other documentaries don't do that. I'm not. All the docs, to one degree or another, are recognizing, but what needs to, where we need to go as much as possible is to do something that is powerful to everybody, not just to those that are knowledgeable, so that anybody can can put this up to watch and know nothing really, haven't paid no attention. They know something's going on. They know what it is. And when they watch it, when they get done, they are changed. They are not the same person. In other words, remember, disclosure is for everyone. Nobody gets to not get disclosure. It happens. It's done. We're in the post-disclosure world. Whether you wanted to be in the post-disclosure world, it doesn't matter. You're there. And so everyone is going to be affected. And so it's important to reach everyone if we can with this issue. And we're getting to a point where that is now possible. We know that in the fictional representations, sci-fi representations of extraterrestrial life, we've reached everybody, right? Who hasn't seen an extraterrestrial film? Who hasn't seen some of these amazing movies? They're worldwide. So the fictional representation is totally out there. Now we need to get the reality of it out there to the same degree.
I think that is the ultimate goal for everybody, certainly in this space that we're in. I'm talking about UFOs and disclosures and ET contact. And I have told you some of the approaches. I haven't discussed it on the air, and we're not going to do that now. But some of the approaches that we have been attempting in these film projects that I'm involved in, and trying to figure out the best way to get to the most people inside of this community. That's easy to do, right? People are going to go and see any new offering, but how to reach out outside of the UFO community to those that have no idea even what the word disclosure is or what it means or contact. That, these are people with busy lives. They do go watch movies. They know what entertainment is, but how do we get to them? How do we, and that's the biggest question, right? And we're approaching it with a couple of unique ideas where we've had carte blanche and we can do anything that we want. But it's a difficult thing, man. It's a difficult process to come up with an idea where you get the most bang for the buck without freaking people out. And
yes, and we'll do the best we can. But the simple calculus is this: when multi-hundred millionaire Hollywood moguls put millions and millions of dollars behind high-end representations of the history of this, and then spend millions of dollars to advertise it so that the number of people that watch it is huge, that's how you, and then also make sure it's distributed in China and in Asia, sure. and whatever. That's how you reach the people. And let's face it, we couldn't do that. We simply couldn't do that. The one thing we could do was to do the best we could, to be true to the issue, to have as much integrity as possible, and hope that one day these kinds of power centers, media power centers, would realize, wow, we need to be part of that, and hopefully include us, because we do know a lot of stuff, and that it just is a significant degree. A degree is exactly what is happening right now. And so, hey, could it have happened sooner? Look, we did the best we could. I remember years ago, it's been a while, and I don't want to pick on this guy. I mentioned him a few times. I have nothing against him, and I think he's probably a wonderful guy. But this guy named Yuri Milner, who's a huge, wealthy Russian, and he made the decision I want to be part of this. Obviously. I mean, who doesn't? And the choice he made was to give $100 million to SETI to look for radio signals that they apparently never found and still never have. Now, I assume it built a lot of radio telescopes, and they have other uses, so it's not wasted per se. But do you know what it meant if somebody like that had put $100 million into disclosure activist movement so that we could really lobby both Hollywood and the Congress and the media and wear, decent clothes and drive a decent car and maybe take them out to dinner or whatever No, would have been fantastic. It didn't happen. There's only been a couple of those kind of events, and one of them really blew up. One of them, the gentleman died, and Yuri, of course, went there. But there's billionaires all over the place. Look, do I think that Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Richard Branson know there's an extraterrestrial presence? Of course I do. When you're a billionaire and you know heads of state and media stars and God knows who else, you have people lined up in front of your office wanting to get in and tip you off to stuff. Literally. Because if they can tell you something you don't know, that could be very good for them. And so the idea that either they didn't figure it out on their own or they weren't tipped off by any of their contacts in the military intelligence community or in the political world, I'm sorry, I just don't buy it. So I believe they know. Now, should they disrupt their life and all their hopes and dreams, and they have plenty to do and plenty of things they want to do, to go there, right? Like Bob Bigelow did, who was also a very wealthy man, who pretty late, 2017, went on 60 Minutes and said, "There's extraterrestrials here. Isn't that wonderful?" Well, he's the only one of that group that has done that. Why didn't the others? Well, look, a person leads their life. They don't lead it because an activist wants them to do something, and they had other priorities. They decided to focus on space, civilian space, which will eventually be a big economic sector and so forth, and it's pretty sexy and it's very cool. And so they've put huge amounts of money into civilian space projects, as Bigelow did. Have they ever backed the disclosure movement? No, they have not. I'm aware of nothing, zero. Now, does that irritate me? A little bit. All right, just a little bit. But you're built. Well, and then there's also the fact that they're doing a lot of work in civilian rocketry and so forth and tech. And I got a very strong feeling the U.S. government is way ahead of them. And so they're essentially reinventing wheels while the government is building this super advanced technology in USAP programs buried God knows how many feet underneath the ground in the desert.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, it's deflection. A good magician, is going to do something with his right hand, and the left hand is where the real stuff is going on, right? And so Elon and Bezos allow that distraction for the government. I don't think there's any question about that. And we've got to take a break right here. But let me say this. To your point, there's no way that you're not the richest person in the world and you don't know things. I mean, that's it.
Amen, brother.
That's
Amen.
it. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Stephen Bassett. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com. This is Jimmy Church, and I invite you to attend the 20th Annual Los Angeles Conscious Life Expo live and in person this September 17th, 18th, and 19th at the LAX Airport Hilton. Connect with exhibitors, community, thought leaders, and friends as we begin to recreate the world. You can also watch the expo from the comfort of your own home. Live stream from the main stage in Los Angeles and from the main stage in London. Truly a global simulcast event broadcast around the world. Live stream and in-person expo tickets are available now. I'll be your host all weekend long from Los Angeles. And on Friday, it's my Ancient Secrets and Earth Mysteries themed segment with James Keenan, Caroline Corey, and William Henry. And on Saturday, Daniel Sheen and I sit down for a one-on-one interview live. We have an amazing lineup of 25 speakers, including Bashar, Gail Thackeray, Kimberly Meredith, Whitley Strieber, Stephen Bassett, Daniel Brinkley, and Lisa Garr. Please visit ConsciousLifeExpo.com for tickets and info. That's ConsciousLifeExpo.com and use that promo code Jimmy for a special discount. Fadernauts. When you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I guess tonight, Stephen Bassett. More with Stephen in just a second. We're going to talk to you about Virtual Shield. You need Virtual Shield VPN. I'm telling you right now, some of these great documentaries and things that have been released over the last week, limited to specific countries, and not only inside of the United States, but outside of the United States. I wasn't able to view them until I switched over to my VPN. Then I got to watch everything. That's one of the benefits of a VPN. The other benefit that is absolutely paramount is your privacy, your search history. You don't want people to know out there that you're looking for medical advice. You don't want people to know this. Your banking. You don't want
any of this known, you need a VPN, you need your search history private, you need your location private. You can get all of that with Virtual Shield. It is the only VPN that I use, my staff uses. Every computer has its own VPN. It's all simple to do. Click on the link in the video description box below. If you're over on YouTube, it's right there. Click on it. You will get Virtual Shield VPN for 50% off today. 50% off for life, right? If you got to punch it into your search engine, do it. virtualshield.com/fade to black. We've got banners and ads over on the website. Click. It'll take you straight there. Virtual Shield for 50% off today. You need your own VPN. This is the world that we live in. Like, Stephen Bassett, he's at an undisclosed location somewhere in the middle of Hollywood. And I don't know because he's running a VPN. I guarantee it. He's out of Washington, D.C. He's got to have his own VPN. Stephen, I wanted to give you, this stays on the down low, but you know what I'm about to say. I'm going to say it in encrypted fashion, but you know about the text that I sent out earlier today. I just got a reply, and the reply said, nobody has seen it. Okay?
Okay, very good.
All right.
But before we go on a little further, though, I want to address something. I want to leave it hanging that you said before the break. I don't want to I don't want to imply that any of the space programs that are the civilian space work of Branson, Bezos, and Musk are done to distract from what the government is doing in any intentional way. They're pursuing civilian space projects, and that's what they want to do. All right. But it is worth noting that if you want to do what they're doing, you have to have cooperation with the government. You just can't just go out in space, right? Oh yeah, I can send a rocket. It's a free country, and I'm sending it up there. No. You have got to have cooperation with the U.S. government, and so it's not in their best interest to shake that cage, and I respect that. So that may be a reason why these very brilliant, very wealthy men have chosen to pursue this very important field, which is the commercialization of space, and don't give the government a problem. Let you and me do that. And I would add one thing. Robert Bigelow shook the world, I think, a little bit in May of 2017 when he said flat out on one of the best known, most popular news magazines in history, there's ETs here. And he said it twice. It was not long after that, maybe a year and a half, 2 years. No, it was certainly 2 to 2.5 years. I don't know. I think the pandemic was just getting underway, but somewhere around then, he shut Bigelow Aerospace down completely. And now the space habitat program that he was working on all those years is now moving forward under other companies. Now, I don't know if he's ever been asked this on camera, and I'm not suggesting he needs to be, but why did he shut it down? Was it because of the pandemic, which would be a reason? It could lead, hey, can't do it. Or did he lose his NASA contract because he had the audacity to simply say the truth on 60 Minutes? It's a question that I don't think he'd want to be asked, and I don't think he'd want to answer. But this is something that I mentioned because when you get up to the high level, big money, including Hollywood, and you want to go certain places, you have to address the government reaction to it and what it's going to mean for your other projects. And the bigger and the richer you are, the more you have to lose.
Yeah, I thought it was very interesting. And when the shutdown happened, there was an alluding to the pandemic, that the production couldn't continue at the facility, and he needed workers there to work, didn't have that ability, and had to shut it down. But it didn't restart, and the building, the parking lot is still empty. And there's been a lot of comments about that. Now, it was, I think, for somebody like Bob to so matter-of-factly stare into the camera and go, I don't question that ET is here on Earth, like right now. Yeah. And that was a pretty bold statement to make. It certainly with the position that he has been in for a couple of decades now. Going back to NIDS and that group of people, and of course ATIP, and then that folding over and moving towards to the Stars Academy, where Bob wasn't directly involved that we know of, but certainly everybody around him was.
That's another thing.
Yeah,
he made that statement to 60 Minutes 5 months before the To the Stars Academy announced.
Yep.
He had to have known they were going to go to the New York Times with that story, and he had to know that he was going to be outed as the researcher on the ATIP program. And so he knew he was about to be tied to this major project. I'm almost certain of that. And so why did he make that statement to 60 Minutes? Because he knew in advance they were going to ask him about his UFO interest. Clearly, and they would have told him that. It's nothing unusual about that. He had plenty of time to decide how to handle it, and that's how he chose. So I think I have stated that I think one of the reasons he did that is that he knew that the To the Stars Academy people were under some pretty strict rules of engagement. They couldn't just come out and say there's extraterrestrials here. That wasn't their goal. Their goal was to get the president to say it, which means getting hearings. And they're saying it wasn't going to bring about disclosure, but it was going to create a lot of problems with their supporters within the Pentagon and elsewhere. So they couldn't say that. They couldn't. They had to be pretty responsible about how they moved forward. But he didn't, and so he said it. And so I'm thinking he's thinking that when they announce and come out based on my attachment to the ATIP and everything else, and my saying there's ETs here, everybody's going to figure out, well, Lou knows there's ETs, or Mellon knows there's ETs here, but they can't tell us, right? So, and whether he knew that was going to cause a problem for him, I don't know. But I know this, that his space habitat work was his joy. He loved it. That was joy to him. He really thought he was doing something special, and he had great pride in it. And I don't think he just closed it down because, he was afraid of, because I assure you, a lot of the manufacturing went on. And other companies are now doing that research. And I think they probably took it up right away. Look, if Bob Bigelow lost his NASA contract to put those habitats out and be one of the great commercial space entrepreneurs, then that needs to be known. We need to know when people make those kinds of sacrifices in service to the truth. And I have a strong feeling that that's what happened, and I hope that one day it's properly acknowledged.
Well, and TTSA in general, everybody around TTSA, and that even includes, you can go all the way to the UAPTF report, in that when Christopher Mellon, on the live stream, the announcement of TTSA, when he stepped up to the microphone and he said, clearly this is, he had the picture of whatever behind him, but he said, clearly this is not an experimental U.S. aircraft. Yeah. But whose is it? That was always, we don't know, but we're going to find out. We don't know, right? This was repeated over and over again. It was the opposite of what Bob Bigelow said.
Not exactly the opposite, but I'll say this. If you were to go watch all the videos in my video compilation on my website, paradigmresearchgroup.org, I've got 160. Interviews, statements by them, news clips, and so forth. A lot of material. George Tsoukalos is all over this. You want to know what I mean by that?
Yeah, I do.
Because over and over again, you're getting the same message from pretty much every one of these individuals. We're not saying it's extraterrestrials. It's extraterrestrials.
Right.
And that's the rules of engagement. And okay, I'm fine with that. As long as we get to the goal, as long as we get to the finish line, I'm fine with that. But let me tell you, I don't think initially they thought that what they were about to do was going to culminate in about 5 months from the time they launched. And then they would have been in clover, probably with a whole bunch of money raised and able to do all kinds of fun things.
Yeah, certainly.
When the election went the other way, it hung it all out to dry. And so essentially what was a 5-month, quick march to glory ended up being a 4-year slog where they were kind of hanging out, really unable to go forward like they would, can't go backward. being attacked from all directions, basically, targets for everybody that wanted to shoot at them, and having to, and their families having to go through this. I don't think that they were getting, there was raining government contract offers on them after they came out with a TTSA. And, every one of those people could get contract deals and make nice money in retirement anytime they wanted to. I imagine that got affected, and possibly Bigelow lost his entire program. This has been very tough on them. They've made a lot of sacrifices. And the internet's not very forgiving about that. Once the internet decides that they don't like you, they don't give a damn what sacrifices you're making. They're just going to piss on you, whenever they can.
Yeah, and I want to stay on this for a second, if we may, because you bring up a great point where we had 3.5, almost 4 years of total media engagement. Total. Had it. Mm-hmm. We had it news. We had it on the internet. We had interviews. We had the Senate get involved. And, of course, ending with the UAPTF report on June 25th. Huge coverage. Daily. It was everywhere. Mm-hmm. And now it's crickets. Why the downturn?
The media is relatively predictable. They want to cover and write about stories that are going someplace and happening things. Right? If it's a crash of an airplane, well, obviously that's intense for a short amount of time, and then they move on. Right? But it needs to be not only current but going someplace for them to really get involved. Well, this thing was going someplace and they knew it, and so they covered it extensively. And it generally kept going. There was new things. These fellows were doing what they could do. They kept it alive. The podcast world kept it alive too. So we got 1,000 articles plus mainstream from October of 2017 to the present, and I have links to all 1,000 on my website. 1,000, a significant portion of all the ones that came out. But the pandemic really changed a lot, and the need to focus on that is huge, and they are. There's that. It also slowed down the disclosure movement, disclosure work. It made hearings much more difficult and delayed them. And then, and this is where Rubio's genius worked out. One of the reasons that the coverage continued well into 2021, it might have died out a lot sooner because the pandemic was taken over, right? And the political situation was completely blowing up. You may recall a lot of people raided the Capitol and tried to get into the kitchen and make themselves lunch and dinner. So it could have ended, but Rubio, in his genius, he makes this important maneuver. He says, look, we want to report back from key agencies covering this and that and everything else. A lot of people thinking, well, that could be interesting. Put a 180-day deadline on it, from the signing of the bill, which put it at June 25. But the announcement about that maneuver was in July of 2020. So literally, the military intelligence complex had a full year to contemplate what to do about this request, and the media had a full year to cover it, and they did. You give the media something like that, where there's a specific date that the government's going to reveal something that could be very important. That's a no-brainer. Right. And so by doing that, he extended the media coverage all the way up to June 25. Now, when the report drops, it's not a big deal. I didn't expect it to be. And then the major classified report, which is a big deal, is classified. Right there, the media is going, okay, but it's time to take a break, right? There's not really much going to happen for a while. We're waiting for the Congress to do something. We're waiting for maybe another report from the government. And so the media drops off, and because they've got a lot of other things to do. That's not surprising at all. I've chronicled it. I've seen it. Does that mean that they're out of the game? Oh, no, not at all. It just means that there's a lot to cover in this world, and they're focusing on that. But the moment this thing picks up again, in other words, the moment Warner, Rubio together announced that they are going to start the hearings on this subject, covering all the stuff that we've been hearing about, focusing almost certainly on military witnesses, the media is going to go boom, and they will be back in with a vengeance. Have no fear of that.
I went back. I want your comment on this. I went back and watched some of the news coverage from 2020 about the UAPTF report and the announcement of the task force and what they were tasked to do. And as we know, the media is going off a certain set of words. It goes out to all of the networks and they repeat it. So it doesn't matter what network you go to, the talking heads are going to be reading verbatim off of the same script. And the script that they were given, if you go back 9 months ago, was repeated over and over again, that the Department of Defense and the Defense Intelligence Agency has been tasked by Congress to disclose everything that they know about UFOs, right?
And that's not what they were tasked.
No, and that was repeated over and over again. Now, the public hears this. It's like, holy crap, everything? So what is it that they are going to disclose? They can't do everything, but they've been told to disclose everything. And I watched this over and over again, Stephen, and that was the message going out to the public. Now, the report didn't disclose everything that the DIA and the Department of Defense knows about UFOs. The exact opposite happened, of course. But that was the message going back almost a year ago.
All right. Well, look, there's a lot of moving parts in this process, and so don't be shocked if one of the aspects gets a little weird. This is a big project. Let's look at it strategically. First of all, if you want to know what the Intel Committee requested, go read the appropriations bill, the language in it. I could bring it up and read it to you right now if you want. And it wasn't everything that they know. It was actually limited to certain areas, it was somewhat comprehensive. But as I said, it didn't have in it. And if you have any crash ET vehicles, we want you to bring the damn wreckage here,
right,
to Washington so we can inspect it. No. It got blown up, not necessarily by the media right away, but it got blown up in the public sector. And then they're interviewing public people, and the people are saying, yeah, they're going to tell us everything we know. And so and by the way, that's editorially not particularly rigorous. But if you're the news people, you're going, well, that story, everything they know is going to get a hell of a lot more eyeballs.
That's exactly my point. That's exactly my point. Yeah. That was the intended message, to go out, almost as a status quo, right? An every man, every woman situation. That was the message to go out. And it was pretty clear by the media.
I think the journalists would have been in favor of that message, but the strategy is trickier than that. Again, most people don't think about this way. It's my job to think about it this way and tell you, and I get great if you don't, no problem. But see, Rubio, who was the chairman at the time, and he's the head guy of that committee, though it's a bipartisan committee. It's the most bipartisan committee in Congress. Rubio could have simply requested a classified report, and that would have been fully appropriate. We want to be told, updated on your policies and so forth, and this and that, and these agencies to respond in some way. If you read the language, that's really what they're asking for. Tell us what's going on. Give us a sense of what your policy is and all this. He could have done it and said, yeah, and we want a classified report. But he put in a public report request as well. Now, Rubio would have known, absolutely knew, there was no way that the Department of Defense was going to put anything in a public report that was going to shake anybody's trees or rattle anybody's cages. They're not going to do that. They can't do that. It's not their job. It's just not appropriate. They're not going to do it. So why did he do that? Because he knew that if he asked for a public report, no matter what the hell they were going to finally come up with, and remember, he was asking for this in July of 2020. The deadline ended up being June 25 because the bill wasn't signed in December. He is guaranteeing a whole bunch of media coverage that wouldn't be there if it was just, we're waiting on a classified report. The public report meant that the press had to stay with it, and the public was going to get excited, and that was going to excite the press, and it kept the story going and kept it going beautifully. Now, as it happens, that was very helpful to Marco Rubio's political aspirations and Marco Rubio's image. So it was a great thing for him. It was a good thing for us because we want that news coverage, all right? But when we didn't get much, I wasn't surprised at all. Other people were disappointed, which wasn't a bad thing because they're channeling their disappointment into irritation, meaning, okay, damn it, then we want more the next time, or let's hold these hearings. And so I think Rubio probably realized everybody's going to win if I make this little side maneuver and ask for this public report. And so, but what we didn't get bupkis. All right. What we got was two fundamental statements, which are important, particularly if you understand the issue. Not only that, and this is where the DOD is doing its own, how would you say, strategies. They provided the classified report on the June 16, 400 pages. We know it's 400 because Lou Elizondo looked at them all and told his attorney. All right. So it's 400. It's not 73 and it's not 17. So that was June 16th. But on June the 3rd, a leak from somewhere out of nowhere, but it had to be a good source because the New York Times took that leak and published it, saying here is some things to expect from the public report. So they leaked a little about the public report on the 3rd of June. And that would have generated news and interest and excitement, okay? And what was that leak? It said that, and you can find the article on my website, June the 3rd, New York Times, said that the public report is going to indicate that in all the 140 cases or so that they looked at, there was no indication or confirmation of extraterrestrials. But the technology represented in some of those sightings is not technology that currently is in the possession of the United States. So, wow, most people would go, wow. People like you and me go, what did that just say? It said it's not we're not saying it's extraterrestrials, but it's extraterrestrials. And so, okay, that was cool. And when the report came out, that's exactly what it said. It had some other things in there, a bunch of acronyms and DOD speak. But basically, those were the two key points. They'd already announced them, right? And so it's generating maximum news coverage, maximum public interest, which is good, but it's not breaking any major ground. It's not putting the DOD in a spot, and it's certainly not affecting Congress. It's got the private report. And so the strategy is this. If you're the DOD is following exactly the right strategy. It's not our job to tell the public about this issue. It's the job of the president to tell the public. He's the one that declassifies this stuff. We can't. 2, the Congress needs to be involved. So our job is to provide information to the Congress classified so they can decide what to do about that information. And if they decide to have hearings, then information will come out in the hearings, and that's not our job either. So they're offloading it as they should, right? And then the Congress will decide to leak it if they leak it, or reveal it if they reveal it. And the Congress will decide to have hearings. And the hearings and all of this ultimately puts the onus, not the onus, but it puts the ball in the president's court, who not surprisingly is staying completely out of this, to then examine the same information and say there's extraterrestrials here. And so the strategy is going exactly as it should. But unless you are attuned to that, unless you know a good deal about this, the average person is going to go, this is irritating. I expected to see ET bodies. I expected this and that. I don't know what's going on. They're lying to us and all that. I get it. I understand. My job is to try to explain it and clarify it a little bit so people will not be too out of place.
Let's take our break right here. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, the one and only Stephen Bassett. What a great conversation so far. We'll pick up where we're leaving off after this short break. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Stay with us.
Hi, everybody. This is Rob Halford, the Metal God, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Why is it we're not very good with our health regimen until it's too late? We don't put oil in the car until the engine blows up. When the body's out of balance, your health is not so good. Give your body some love. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Try our Life Change Tea, which cleanses you from harmful intruders. A clean colon is one of the ways to bring the body in balance. We also carry organic supplements to help you get where you need to go. So do your body a favor. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. You can even visit our sales page to save some dough. Does anybody call money dough anymore? Anyway, if you're looking for short, helpful health tips, go to YouTube and punch in Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. So, log on to getthetea.com, shop, get balanced, then learn some cool tips at Health Matters Now. You'll be glad you did. That's getthetea.com.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRAradio.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from River Moon. Just click on the River Moon Coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact. KGRAradio.com.
When you're in the house for longer periods of time, you can see them flying or running across the floor. Ooh, yuck. They're unhealthy, gross, and disgusting. Bugs. I loathe bugs. We keep a clean home, but occasionally bugs show up. Well, I found something that is tougher than bugs. Orange Guard. On contact, it kills hidden bugs, including ants, roaches, and fleas. Plus, Orange Guard is a residual repellent. All of the ingredients of Orange Guard are on the FDA generally recognized as safe list. Orange Guard may be used around food, humans, and pets. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Orange Guard. Available at orangeguard.com, Whole Foods, and Ace Hardware.
Gold loves chaos, uncertainty, and disarray. History shows us what gold does when people aren't sure about the government, the stock market, their jobs, or their retirement savings. Our national debt is skyrocketing. Gold and other precious metals are a defense measure against inflation and a stock market that might take years to recover. So what can you do right now to protect yourself? Call United Gold Group. We offer gold and other precious metals delivered securely within 72 hours. Are you worried about the stock market? We can also help you set up a real gold or silver IRA or a 401k. Safe and secure. United Gold Group makes gold ownership affordable. Call now and get up to $2,500 in free gold or silver with a qualified IRA. Call 800-753-8534. That's 800-753-8534 or visit UnitedGoldGroup.com.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why fade to black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Stephen Bassett, Paradigm Research Group. Now, Stephen, based out of Washington, D.C., he has been a part of this community and pushing for disclosure for a very long time, coined the phrase, the truth embargo. And now, this is where I'm going to go straight at you, Stephen. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Disclosure, the truth embargo. What is it? What is it that you want? What is it that you want the president to step up to the podium and say? What is it?
Very simple. My fellow Americans, I can confirm to you tonight, based upon my viewing of the evidence that's been presented to the Congress over the last week or 2 weeks, and after discussion with my people at the Department of Defense as well as congressional leaders, that this testimony confirms what many of you have suspected, that there is an extraterrestrial presence engaging us now. That's it. That's what we want. That's all. We want more, but I mean, in terms of disclosure, that's it. That's the moment that those words come out of his mouth or the mouth of another head of state, and backed up by whatever evidence they wish to produce, and I assure you that's not a problem. We have had disclosure. That's it. That's it. After that, we're in the post-disclosure world, and all questions will be about the post-disclosure world. What do you want in the post-disclosure world? Well, hell, we could spend days talking about that. But that's it. The announcement, the confirmation, that ends the truth embargo at that moment. It doesn't end all secrecy, but it ends the truth embargo, which is fundamentally about confirming and acknowledging the extraterrestrial presence, which has been around since 47, if not since 4000 BC, right? Whatever. It's that simple.
Now,
it's no more complicated than that.
Let's examine that for a second, and I appreciate that, and I know that you know that I know that is what so many need to hear. Anything else? Oh, there's already been disclosure. I don't need it. Well, you know what? That's not good enough for the vast majority of not only members of this community, but the rest of the planet. So let's suppose that those words are actually spoken. Be careful of what you wish for, right? What can the world handle that? And I know that's the $1 million question, but can the world handle it?
I'm certain the world can handle it. The human race has handled a lot of stuff in its existence. We've been through wars, global wars. We've been through pandemics and upheavals. Hey, we've been through change upon change upon change. And now we're going to have another significant change, paradigm shift. And if you ask me, could the world have dealt with it 70 years ago? In 1947, there'd never been a film about ETs. The first one was 1951. Oh, 51 is when they came out. One of the most well-remembered is The Day the Earth Stood Still. It may not have been the first, but I think 51 is when the first film, this issue, came out. So in 47, there never been a film. But Americans in 1947 had just gone through World War II, defeated the Axis powers. It did all kinds of sacrifice in order to serve that war. They did a fantastic job, came together. And this idea that if they'd learned, wow, these craft that have been flying around we've been hearing about, turns out they're not from here and there's ETs in them, that they would have simply collapsed into a puddle is absurd. They wouldn't have. That was 70 years ago. So after, 51 to now is 70 years of ET movies and television shows, so many you can't count. I actually researched it once, and the total revenues from these things is way up there. 50, 60, 70 billion dollars has been made from television and series and films with ETs in them of one kind or another. 70. So you can't hardly find somebody in the entire planet that hasn't seen something about ETs in a fictional state. Now, after 70 years of that, and we find out there's actually real ETs, we're going to, fall apart? No. But that meme is out there all the time because it serves the truth embargo. It's constantly put out there as another little thing to keep the truth embargo going. And by the way, when you hear that, particularly from somebody connected to government anyway, it's not for you. They're not really putting that out there so that they can keep you from giving them a hard time. That particular message, that the public can't handle the truth, is for them. It's for the government people. It's for the military. It's for the scientists. Meaning, look, you guys know about this. You got your hands on some files. You could cruise on down to the New York Times tomorrow. But don't do that, because if you do, all of society will fall apart. Religion will collapse. The economy will blow up. You don't want to destroy the world, do you? It's basically propaganda directed toward themselves, not for us. And you'll find that when you talk to people in general about this, they go, I'm not going to fall apart. I'm fine. It's going to be okay. But it's out there, and others have picked it up. And they're going, well, maybe the world will collapse. Well, I'm here to tell you it won't. And if anything, everybody will throw a party. Most people will throw a party and sit down in front of their televisions and enjoy the hell out of the post-disclosure world for as long as they can.
I've enjoyed of more than a few emails that have come in, certainly right around the UAPTF report date of June 25th, from a variety of people, but everybody was going back to kind of the same thought process, which is, church, what are you going to do if disclosure is here? You're going to be out of a job. Ancient Aliens, right? Ancient Aliens is over. Nobody's going to care. And this whole question being answered, everybody's going to be out of work. There's going to be no more UFO conferences. And I got this type of email over and over again. Now, what that suggests to me is that people are very aware of the hard work that we put into this and pushing all of this forward. But if it does happen, what do we do? There's no more goal, right? There isn't a reason to push the football down the field. How do you respond to that kind of criticism?
Oh, that's easy. That's easy, Jimmy. Trying to think of a really good analogy. It was kind of like somebody saying, once we put a man on the moon, that's pretty much it. That was the goal. And we're pretty much going to give up on the space thing. It's not much to do there anymore. Well, of course, putting a man on the moon guaranteed that the human race was going to be engaging space forever. Disclosure is nothing more than a confirmation. Now, once we enter the post-disclosure world, the demand for information, what we may learn in the post-disclosure world, all of this has huge implications for everybody. And I assure you, the interest in this subject will explode. And so those that are worried about you, I want to tell them right now, Jimmy's going to be just fine. Jimmy's audience will double, maybe triple. And the number of subjects that he can cover when you talk about, who do we bring on to talk about the relationship between this topic and the ETs, or what we may get from the government or technology, and what the ETs are about, right? And by the way, I know a bunch of contactees. Let's get them on. They've actually met the damn people. We didn't think so before, but apparently, yeah, it's true. They did meet them. Let me tell you, Jimmy, people that are worried about you, no. So all I can say is, look. All right, let me give you an example. People thought, well, when the Civil Rights Acts were passed, that would be the end of the drive for justice and fairness for people of color. Pretty much got the law, don't need to do anything. Are you kidding me? Once those laws were passed, the civil rights movement went to high gear. It had much more work to do. Disclosure is a simple statement from the president. The post-disclosure world will last for the next 100 years and maybe the post-disclosure world will last forever. But the work that's needed with respect to it will be incredibly intense for the rest of the century. Right now, there's not a single college or university that has a formal program on this in its curricula. Not a single one. Within 10 years after disclosure, there will be exopolitical departments and departments dealing with ET phenomena, whatever ET issue, in virtually every major university in the country. That's within 10 years. That's a given, right? And so forth. I can go on and on and on. But I assure you, disclosure is the door to another world, not the end of a world, but rather the door to another one, even bigger, even more.
And you bring up, it's a very interesting point, because at the university level, we have Avi Loeb. You brought up Uri Milner earlier, who partnered up with Avi. And one of the things that Uri... there's a few points I want to make here, that Uri said to Avi, He said, look, I will fund this if you can show me that we can get to another star in my lifetime. Now that's the rules. I am of this age, so you've got You've got X amount of time to get to another star, and I'll fund it. So well, okay. So Yuri put the project together, and it took him about 6 months. He knew that he couldn't take 5 years to do this because that takes away 5 years from Yuri's life, right? So you can't do that. Sure. You've got to fast track this, and he put that project together. But the reason why Yuri selected Avi was, drove up, to Harvard, goes to Avi's office and goes in and lays this out. And also Stephen Hawking was involved too as well. Well, anyway, Avi knows that there has to be, it's a numbers issue. There has to be a huge amount of intelligent life out there. And then Oumuamua happens. And Avi decided to take it upon himself to make sure that he would compile a group of physicists, astrophysicists, astronomers, scientists together to absolutely definitively find planets that have life on them. And he announced the Galileo project 2 weeks ago. He's going to be on this program next week to talk about this further. But this is in addition to everything else that is going on out there right now in the media and the Senate Intelligence Committee and the UAPTF and the Department of Defense and Lou Elizondo and Chris Mellon. All of that's going on. Meanwhile, Avi is right now is the only guy to step out, and he's with Harvard, to absolutely prove that this is happening out there in our galaxy. And I commend him. Out there, yeah. And I think that he may beat the president to the punch.
No, he will not. No, he will not.
You don't think so?
Come close. Let me be strong here. Okay. First of all, Yuri, Bubala, Tavares, call me for God's sake, right? For some reason you're getting really bad advice and you're behind the curve here. All right. ETs are here already. The government already knows it, right? So you keep throwing your money. How's the word? You're like the guy that buys the stock after it's already gone up 500%, right? Meaning, hey, yeah, it's going to go. Then it comes down. Look, I'm trying to imagine what it'll be like to be Yuri Milner, particularly, but to some degree, even Avi Loeb, when the government finally confirms the ET presence. Not only that it's here, but it's been here all along, and ultimately confirms, yeah, we knew it all along. That will come out soon enough. We've known it for 74 years. I wonder what they're going to think. What are they going to think about the money that was all spent? On what? So that's awkward. But it gets worse than that. And I say worse. Look, Harvard is just one of the 5,000 universities and colleges that will not study this issue, even though there's plenty of professors in those schools that know the ET presence is real. And occasionally one will pop up and say something, get involved in an outside project. They will not provide the study of this issue. Why? Because it would upset the government. And what a lot of people don't know is that there's no more skittish group in this country than college professors. People are under the mistake that because they have tenure, they're bold and aggressive and they're safe. And no, they're not. In fact, getting tenure for a professor usually means I don't have to worry about losing my job. And since I don't have to worry about losing my job, I'm just going to teach and be comfortable and have a good time, make a nice living. I'm not going to, why do I want to rattle anybody's cage? Why do I want to cause a problem? Besides, my university does get some funding from government sources or government indirectly or directly. And why upset that, right? I don't want to hurt my university. That's the only way to explain that in 74 years of this phenomena being worldwide, not a single university or college in this country has been a formal study of this. It is the biggest intellectual failure of all time. Maybe they all thought they were all going to be put on a stake and set on fire like Giordano Bruno. I don't know. But it's an act of intellectual cowardice, unprecedented, certainly, in the modern era. Now, they're all going to have to answer for that.
Well, I would say in a general sense, Stephen, you're absolutely right. But Avi is not from that mindset. And
not exactly. He
have
is,
you ever spoken to him? Have you ever spoken to him? I have.
I've read enough to know what. I know, look,
okay.
I understand what you. Look, I'm not gonna. I don't want to knock the guy. Look, 30 years ago, 25 years ago, I started my work by going to work for John Mack's organization as a volunteer.
Also from Harvard.
Harvard trained. It's like a Pulitzer Prize winner. And he in the previous 2 years before I arrived there in January of 1996, he was attacked by Time magazine. He was attacked by Phil Klass. He had other efforts to undermine him. And then Harvard held a tribunal, essentially, and made him come in to defend his work because there were some concerns that he was not operating within the proper protocols. It took him 8 months and $250,000 to ultimately defend himself, and the tribunal finally said, okay, fine, do what you do. Meaning, we didn't think you'd spend that much money. We thought you'd just pack up, right, and shut down. But my God, and you hired Danny Sheehan, oh my God, and you're giving us a hard time. Okay, so fine, go. That was back in 94, 95. That's Harvard, the great beacon of intellectual excellence. So, that's 96. So 24 years go by, and a whole lot of people that don't make the kind of salaries that professors at Harvard make and are working out of their back pocket, taking a lot of grief, working to try to end this truth embargo. 24 years of that. And finally, we get to a point where the chairman of the Harvard Astronomy Department, longest serving chairman, feels comfortable enough to engage the issue. And he chooses, well, he doesn't do what Bob Bigelow does and go in 60 Minutes and say there's ETs here. But he grabs a hold of this Oumuamua event and he looks at it and he says, it's a little odd, some interesting things there. It could be a probe. And if it's a probe, it confirms extraterrestrial intelligence outside the solar system. And so he puts that theory out. He talks about it. And it gets picked up, not just because the theory is profound, it's not that profound, but because he's the head of the Harvard Astronomy Department, and he's extraterrestrial. He's using the word extraterrestrial. Oh, my God, okay? And he gets tons of press, and it's pretty much positive, and so forth. Writes a book, and gets a big project going with a Russian billionaire. But, it's hard for me to get too overworked about that. Because we know there's extraterrestrials here already. What has he done to end the truth embargo? He's basically saying that I can go this far, but no further. And Harvard hasn't bothered him. After 24 years, Harvard has got to the point where, okay, as long as you're not talking to contactees or anything, you can talk about the possibility of alien probe, which, by the way, already left the friggin' solar system at 40,000 miles an hour.
240,000 miles.
Right, I'm thinking 40,000. So it picked up speed when it went by the sun. And so basically Harvard is saying, okay, after 24 years, we can go with that. We can go with that. Well, I'm sorry if that's not enough. I'm sorry if the Harvard University decided to be the Catholic Church of our time, right? Oh, well, they didn't burn anybody to stake. But I'll tell you, if they could have put John Mack in house arrest, they'd have done it. Okay, I'm not so forgiving about this stuff. I'm an activist, a truth activist. And when the entire collegiate world lies about this, ignores the truth, does nothing to challenge the government, I'm going to call them on it. And I'm going to call them in the post-disclosure world. Not because I'm a vindictive guy, but because if you don't call them on it, what else are they going to sit on their ass about that comes along, meaning, we can't go there. We might lose our funding. I have tenure. I don't want to upset anybody. Oh man, this irritates the hell out of me. And so, forgive me if when Yuri Milner, after giving $1 million to SETI, which is basically the biggest scientific fraud in history, now is going to give money to Avi because kind of a current thing and it's kind of cool. He's a Harvard professor. Yuri, call me. Let me explain to you. You don't have to go find intelligent life by some advanced program of deep space research. You're here right now. End the truth embargo, and there's a good chance you'll be able to ask them directly what it's like on their planet. Right? That would be even cooler, and it may not cost all this damn money. And besides, every time somebody like that does this, he's telling a lot of people, ETs can't be here. Otherwise, would I be so stupid to do this? And he's reinforcing, he's helping the truth embargo by being so obtuse. All right? And because and to some degree, though I love them all, Richard and Elon and Jeff, by not speaking to this issue, even though they're space nuts, it's making it a lot easier for people to go, well, I can't imagine there'd be ETs here. If there were ETs here, these guys would be saying that, wouldn't they? If the government's been studying ET technology for 70 years, they wouldn't invest money in chemical rockets. So whether they intend to or not, and I'm not suggesting they intended, they're helping the truth embargo big time. In other words, there's a phrase I use, Jimmy, and I use it often. I'm going to use it again tonight. And I include myself, you can be sure. The truth embargo, one way or another, will make fools of all of us. You, me, the Air Force, the DOD, billionaires, media, you name it, and college professors. It will and has made fools of all of us. And I'm suggesting that something that is making fools of everybody probably should be addressed in order to move past that so that we can all not be fools anymore. I mean, maybe I'm reaching too far, but that's what's going on. Yuri is making a fool of himself. Harvard's making a fool of himself. The Air Force is making a fool of itself. And on and on and on. Now, there are other things that people make fools of themselves about. There's plenty of that going around right now. And so I'm not singling out this issue. But this issue, unlike some of the other things that people are making fools of themselves about, is more important, more powerful, more implicative than anything ever the human race has addressed or is landed on their plate. Nothing compares to this. And so playing around with this, extending this, it's just wrong.
Well, I look at it maybe a little bit differently, but this has always been my approach, Stephen, is that there are so many moving parts from so many different areas here, whether it's the military, it's civilians, it's abductions, it's sightings, it's video, it's evidence, it's the other parts of this that need to be in place besides the president stepping up to the microphone, having somebody like Lou Elizondo speaking out and everything. Is the science side of this, where the James Webb telescope that is getting ready to launch and the ability for the TESS system, that's TESS, to triangulate and look into the atmospheres of different planets out there and not only look for the atmospheric side of things, but the lights of cities, evidence of an advanced civilization. That is another component and SETI too as well. That's another component that supports all of this at the same time. It can't just come from the president at the podium. It can't come from the UAPTF report. It can't come from Lou Elizondo. And it can't come from abductees. And it can't come from the Paradigm Research Group. It's everything happening at the same time. And you can always go, well, yeah, they said this, but this also over here supports it. And Oumuamua was here, and this sighting and this video. It all comes together at the same time. And that's the way that I look at it. I don't think any of those components removed will get all of the answers. That we need all of the cogs in the machine to be moving at the same time.
Boy, you're being generous. There's clearly many moving parts, and all of it has played a role. But the inefficiency and the waste of the way this has been conducted is just staggering.
Do you think
if we had gotten disclosure in 1947, which we almost did, we would have already been to the stars by now?
I'm probably, and yeah, right. And hindsight is always a bane. But I look at, for those that have criticized SETI, and I've been critical of SETI too as well, but I always flip this over and go, it's better than doing nothing.
No,
I would.
When you throw money at a project that is completely unnecessary, when that project is literally used by the government as a deflection and a way to manage the truth embargo, meaning, yeah, of course we're interested in the possibility of extraterrestrial life. That's why we have SETI. So thank you so much for coming by.
Sure. You can always look at it that way, but
yeah.
And that absolutely may be true. But looking for radio signals out there that may or may not exist, I think is a good thing. Me personally, I don't see anything wrong with it. Maybe I've watched the movie Contact too many times, but it's just another piece of the. Also, the search for exoplanets, and if we actually look at this, Stephen, and this addresses your point. And I know I run around with flowers hanging out of my pockets, and I am being generous. There's no question about that. But in 1995, there were no exoplanets. In 1995, we found our first exoplanet. But before 1995, you walked out of your backyard and looked up at the stars and wondered if there were any planets out there. We did not know. As a matter of fact, the dogma stated we were all that there is. There isn't any other planets. 5 years later, we had 5 exoplanets confirmed from 1995 to the year 2000. Today, we now know that every star in the sky that you can see with your eyeballs has 1, 2, 3, or 10 planets around it. That is a scientific fact. We now know that there are 80 billion Earth-like planets in our Milky Way in the Goldilocks zone. All of that would not have been found out without science. And the search for this and going to look for it, that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing.
I'm suggesting you parse it a little bit more. First of all, yes, the exoplanet research and surveys, very important. Absolutely had to do them. And all of that knowledge helped to put pressure on the truth embargo because it slowly destroyed that.
Yes.
Guess what, though? We have been aware of and watched a steady increase in the survey of the galaxy to the point where the number is staggering, and that truth embargo still stands.
Well, and that's how you keep the pressure on, because
again, we shouldn't have to do that.
No,
Jimmy.
we shouldn't.
In other words, you can't say, "Oh, it's okay to do that. It's okay to do that," and it's all good when in fact the truth embargo still stands. You end the truth embargo, my God, the money that has been thrown away, not to mention the fact that we have finite lifetimes. Okay, we don't live forever. We live 75 years. And so you've got people working on this stuff, and the government's known it all along. Here's the best example here's the best analogy that I can give you.
You're 100% correct, Stephen.
All right, but I need to drive this home.
Yeah, drive it home.
Let me give you an analogy. I'm not saying this has happened, because if I don't say that, it'll end up on the internet. People say I'm actually putting this out there. Let's say that 40, 50 years ago, our deep classified research bioweapons laboratories, which we have still, top people, unbelievable funding. They're studying all this stuff to make a weapon, and they stumble across a cure for cancer. Literally, virtually any cancer you can imagine, because they've stumbled across the fundamental essence and origin of it. And so they tell this to the top people. And by the way, this is deep classified research because it's bioweapons research. Okay, so it's very classified. They tell the top people. And certain groups within the United States government come together to discuss it secretly, of course, in a skiff. And someone raises their hand and says, if we announce and put out this cure, this extraordinary paradigm shift in medical treatment, it's going to extend the lifetime of hundreds of millions and billions of people. They're going to live a lot longer. First of all, that's going to completely wipe out the social security system. More importantly, it's going to increase the population density. It's going to grow even faster. The demand on resources, there's going to be civil unrest and everything else. And so for a national security reason, it would be better if we did not release this information and allow this cure to become ubiquitous. For national security reasons. I mean, literally, there would be suffering, there would be discord, there would be a lot of this. And so they didn't do it. And the years went by. And people started hearing that maybe they had something, but they denied it. Witnesses might have come forward, they undermined them, and whatever. And it went on, decade after decade. And after about 60 years, we learned, finally, that they had a cure for cancer 60 years ago, and they kept it to themselves. How generous do you think we should be?
Not very.
We could say, well, look, there was a whole bunch of research in the public sector trying to find a cure, and that led to this and that and everything else, and scientists had a job and made money and so forth. So let's be forgiving. They didn't tell us. We could have known, but hey, there was some science. It's like that, Jimmy.
It is like that, and that's a good analogy.
It's exactly like that.
Sure it is. Sure it is.
And that's not acceptable. That's not acceptable. And so when you have that still going on, after the last 4 years that we've gone through, with the witnesses coming forward, and some of the most important one being the nuclear weapons tampering, which the government still won't acknowledge or have hearings for. People say, well, look, here's a bunch of money. Let's start a program to see if we can find real evidence out there through the, obviously complicated because it's light years away. But let's don't talk about the ET presence. Let's don't go Bob Bigelow here. Let's don't put any money into the activism. Let's let the government continue this policy. We're well fed. We got plenty of money. We're happy. We're getting press. Bullshit.
Well,
all right?
Yeah. Okay. So check this out. You just brought up Showtime's documentary series UFO by J.J. Abrams. Have you seen it?
I have seen the first episode.
Okay.
And I will obviously see the rest.
Okay. First episode, it's pretty cool. ET's discussed, Phoenix Lights, Chicago O'Hare, bring up a couple of other cases. And J.J. Abrams is presenting something pretty compelling. It's high value production. It's great. I posted out on social media. Everybody go and check this out. But then I watched the other 3 episodes. And episode number 3, Stephen, is the opposite of episode number 1. As a matter of fact, and you can see what I posted up here in Twitter. As a matter of fact, I'll read it to you right now. This is what I posted today on Twitter, copying both Showtime and J.J. Abrams. I said this, quote, "Did J.J. Abrams use Showtime to project the idea that UFOs are just a cover for U.S. military tech? Question. I'm just asking the question. After watching all 4 episodes of UFO, what is your opinion?" Now, that is out on social media right now because after the first episode, J.J. Abrams takes a left-hand turn, brings on witnesses, testimony, video evidence to clearly paint the picture that UFOs are a deflection by our United States government to cover up United States military technology, that the UFO enigma is fake. There are no UFOs. Then he goes to episode 4, where he then, as a matter of fact, Stephen, in episode 3, he goes to this aeronautics corporation where they have got a large V-shaped blimp to suggest that that is what was seen over Phoenix. after what he did in episode 1 about the Phoenix Lights. Then proceeds to show this in episode 3. Now, there's more to it than that, and I don't want to waste time. Episode 4, he goes after the abduction phenomena, brings on a historian from Penn State who suggests very strongly that all of this is a social enigma, that abductions are part of our mind, and that we have, through decades, gone through different types of abduction and the phenomena, and it was socially influenced, that the abduction phenomena is fake, and the publicity of this is brought on by our United States government to have a UFO question laid out to the public to deflect everything from United States military tech. That is the documentary called UFO on Showtime. And it's dramatic, and I pose the question right now, did JJ use Showtime to present this disinformation? I don't know what's going on. After you watch this documentary and you get through the end of episode 4, you're going to have a different tune. And
actually, I know, well, I have actually seen parts. I also know people involved, so I know more about the doc than you may have assumed. I did watch the first. I would recommend that those that watch it consider this. What he did was bring out some of these counter arguments, put them up there, primarily to show how ludicrous they were. In other words, not try to in other words, not ignore the fact that you have these other arguments being put out there. Probably one of the most telling things is Richard Doty, of course, the gentleman who worked in disinformation for AFOSI and was responsible, if not directly, indirectly, for the suicide of Paul Benowitz, comes across awful. So, in other words, JJ didn't want to do just a cheerleading thing. He wanted to get sophisticated. So he brought and showed some of these other arguments. He didn't make fun of them. He just put them out there and let them stand on their own, and they don't stand very well. I know for a fact that I assure you that this is not a misinformation project, and that the convictions about the ET reality are very powerful behind this. So I wouldn't overreact to that. Typically, the standard docs, which are made with much less money, such as even the Netflix doc, they're kind of like cheerleading. They just constantly tell you and try to show you it's real, they're real, they're real, and look at this and look at that, and they're real, and they're real, and they're real. And they don't want to go anywhere else because, you know, there's been so much disinformation and so much effort in the truth embargo. They don't want to add anything to it. JJ doesn't have that problem. And so he's gone to another level of sophistication. So expect to hear more about this. Expect to see interviews and so forth. This is only the beginning, but I don't think it's quite what you think.
I've watched all 4 episodes twice. I've watched episode 3 times, and as I started to digest this, that's why I put this out into the public. Yeah. What is it? And I make it clear here. I'm just asking the question. After watching all 4 episodes of UFO, what is your opinion? That's all I want to know. Okay. And but the intention. I had Richard Dolan on the show last night discussing all of this. And what is the intention of this with this high dollar production out on Showtime? Because he's got George Knapp, he's got Leslie Kean, he's got Diana Pasolka, he's got James Carrion on this. Yes, Richard Doty, Kevin Day. But in the end, I question, did Leslie, did George, did Diana, did Kevin Day, for instance, who's questioning his sanity right now about what he saw and what he witnessed, all the way through, that this is actually about the UFO phenomenon is a creation and allowed to perpetuate by the government to cover up their military tech.
I'm at a disadvantage, Jimmy, because I haven't seen him at length, but I have seen enough. I saw the Day thing for sure. Kevin Day is not questioning his what he saw, his sanity. What he's saying is that the ordeal that he has gone through, and the stress that it has put on him, is having him question his sanity. He is not questioning what he saw and what he knows, not at all. And so I will eventually watch them, and I can come back and talk about them some more. But I can, and I believe that any of this stuff should be scrutinized very intensely, and the views should be shared. But I know enough to know that this has been a very solid, positive thing. That it gave a huge amount of airtime and a high level production to some key people here, all right, including Kevin Day. I mean, Kevin Day is going to be seen by God knows how many millions of people, talking about his experience and talking about how it's affected him. He's not alone there, and you can find other instances of this. But the fact that there's some stuff in there that goes against the standard modality, which is make a doc and sell the truth of the ET presence, sell it hard over and over and over again. I get that, and I understand it. It's a natural reaction to the truth embargo. But you see, that's coming from us, the community, the intellectual ghetto that is ufology, and the frustration and the anger. And so we sell. He doesn't have that problem. He doesn't have to sell it. He can show what he needs to show for the reasons that he has. And he has clearly shown that he has an extremely significant commitment to engaging this issue at a high level, which means he's green-lighted a lot of other people that may not have thought to go there that are going to go there. And so overall, I assure you, the meme that, well, it's all just a distraction program designed for the government is not going to get traction. It's not going to go anywhere. It's been debunked already 100,000 times. It's just not there. But after 74 years of truth embargo, I don't blame anybody for being paranoid and suspicious about anything that turns up.
Well,
because the government's been doing this for a long time, and maybe they'll continue to do it. But I'm not too concerned about this.
Well, I would be very interested in your opinion after you watch episodes 3 and 4. I'm telling you, when episode 1 aired, I spoke to you, I spoke to everybody, I called Dolan, posted it up, I talked to everybody. And then I got to episode 2, which is okay. Then I got to 3, and Stephen, I was like, what just happened? This is an interesting. Now, if I'm George Knapp, or if I was in this documentary, and I'm thinking one thing, and then it airs, and I see it's the opposite of not only what I thought it was going to be, but what I believe in. It's the opposite. And I don't dig this message. I would be pissed. So I don't know. I don't know. It's still airing, and we're going to see how people react. I'm just telling you, I was shocked. I was honestly shocked, and I didn't want to pollute anything. I'm kind of glad that, Stephen, I'm being serious, I'm kind of glad that I posted out, everybody go check out episode 1, because I want everybody to come back to me going, Church, I watched all 4 episodes, man, and you were wrong. Episode 1 was one thing, but this documentary was something else. And I watched it on your recommendation. I want them to be pissed at me. I want to understand everybody else's opinions here and what their takeaway is on this. It's a big deal, man. This is showtime. This is J.J. Abrams. And this right here represents, in my opinion, what the truth embargo is all about. And is this just some big message? And I don't think JJ understands what the UFO community is about, what disclosure is about, what the truth embargo is about. No, he doesn't have a clue. And he went into another direction, presupposing some very significant statements here about the UFO phenomenon and what it represents. And I think he clearly missed the target. So we will see. History's a heck of a judge.
Again, let me watch them. and see if my understandings are somehow off base. But it will, I mean, Rich, I'm sorry I didn't watch them. I did binge watch the Netflix series, right? That took 5 hours, and so I didn't have a chance to binge watch this. Plus, I don't have Showtime, but I will watch them. I think that, well, and I'll tell you what, let's revisit this again in the future, Jim.
Oh,
but,
we will.
I know enough to know that if you think JJ is signed on to the disinformation program, no, that's not what's happening here. And this is not the end of this. There's more coming. So don't worry. It's going to be okay.
All right. Okay. You're Stephen Bassett, man. You're Stephen Bassett. And I will privately, I will send you all the shows. So you don't have to worry about that, and you can just download them. And
no, that's okay. I am going to sign up for Showtime. I just haven't got around to it.
I can send you the links.
I'm going to sign up for Showtime. I'm going to watch them all. You don't need to send them to me.
Okay. Well, my files have watermarks on them, so it's a little distracting. But
yeah, that's okay. So let me get into something else here that I kind of want to do. I think we have time. Maybe we don't. 10 minutes, right? Is that all
yeah, about 7.
Oh God.
Okay, go. Wind it up.
Okay, look. Here's another analogy that I use to try to help just regular people get what the hell happened and what's going on. And I use a fable, one of the most famous fables ever done. It's known all around the world. It's the one about the boy who cried wolf. Okay? Middle Ages. That's when it started, used in Grimm's fairy tales. Everybody knows it. The shepherd boy is tired of being out there. He wants some attention, so he yells that the wolf pack is coming. The townspeople come out, and they go, well, where? And he says, oh no, it's gone away. Okay. So then a couple nights later, he does it again because again he wants some people to pay attention to him, and so he says the wolf pack's coming, and they come out. He's not there. He does it a third time. Now they're really pissed. Then one night the wolf pack shows up, and he is yelling for help from the villagers in the town, and they go, screw you. We're tired of this, and they don't come out. And the wolf pack comes in and eats all the sheep. Okay? That telling changed. A new version came out later in the Middle Ages. A little different. Same thing. Cries wolf 3 times. 4th time, they don't come. And the wolf pack eats the sheep and the boy. Okay? Well, let me upgrade this particular, what do you call it? Fairy tale.
Fable.
The modern era.
Yes.
The fable, the modern era, appropriate to our times, which are very intense and grandiose and so forth. Here's how the modern version of this goes. The shepherd boy cries wolf 3 times in a row. They come out, but finally they're disgusted. He cries wolf the 4th time, and nobody comes. And the wolf pack eats the sheep, eats the boy, and eats all of the villagers. It eats everything. All right? So where am I getting at? Early 1960s, United States government lies about the Gulf of Tonkin. Oh, we were attacked. Not good. This is going to have to escalate the war. Start sending in the troops, escalates the whole damn thing. All right? We learned later, wasn't true. Okay? Wow. And then Iraq lied about the weapons of mass destruction. You know, got us in the war, hyped it really hard, and then not long after they said, well, no, there weren't any. Okay? That's twice. Okay? How about the 3rd time? The United States government has been lying about the ET presence for 74 years. Every single day, not just a single event like the Gulf of Tonkin. They have to lie every single day for 74 years. That's crying wolf the 3rd time. All right? And so what happens when the governments have lied like that little shepherd boy, over and over again until people are saying, screw you, and then along comes something really big. The wolf pack has arrived, right? It's going to eat the sheep, it's going to eat the boy, and it's going to eat the entire town. And the government reaches out to people and says, look, you need to trust us. You need to do this, and you need to do that, right? If you don't, and basically the people say, screw you. That's exactly what's happening now. Global warming? Screw you. Pandemic? Screw you. Don't believe a damn thing you say. Right? And there's going to be other instances of this. So this is an existential situation.
Yeah, it is.
let me be clear. The thing that you need to worry about the most, the thing you should fear the most in this world today for your kids and grandkids, whether you care about yourself, I don't know. It isn't global warming. That will take a long time. It isn't the pandemic. It will pass. There will be more. Now, the thing you need to fear the most is nuclear weapons, period. It's in first place. Everything is in way back behind, like when Secretariat won was it Preakness? Nuclear weapons. Do we talk about that? Do we engage that? The politics? No, we don't talk about that. And so what's the problem here? We don't trust the government anymore. We've undermined trust to the point where it's practically destructive to our democracy. And these lies, this fable has been operating that way. Screw you. So unless the government gets back in the truth business pretty soon, if it doesn't start getting forthright with us, well, the next pandemic may be an 80% fatality rate, right? Slaughtering people by the hundreds of millions. And the government says, you've got to do something. And we're going to say, screw you. The regular people are tired of being lied to. The truth embargo is the greatest lie of all time. It still stands. If you want to reset this so that when the government actually tells you, boy, you need to do this or we're going to have a real problem, people go, oh, yeah, absolutely. Then you better end this damn truth embargo as soon as possible. And stop lying about anything else, by the way, anything big. So the governments lie about life and death and peace and war and the presence of extraterrestrials, and then wonders why, when it says, my God, we need to get vaccinated, people say, screw you. That's the fable. That's the message I'm trying to get across, right? This truth embargo is about a hell of a lot more than just finally learning there's ETs here. The truth embargo has done more damage to our society, our culture, our geopolitics, than the presence of extraterrestrials. They fly here, they fly there. They occasionally take some blood from an animal and they put crop circles down in the UK. What? The truth embargo has undermined our entire structure. It's undermined our trust. It's created broad spectrum dysfunction. It's eroding. It's eating at us like the barnacles in the bottom of the boat, or what are those things that eat wood?
Termites.
Termites. The truth embargo has been a massive termites eating at the body politic, eating at the ship of state. The damn thing's going to sink. That's how big it is. That's what this is about. That's the activism, okay? Lying is toxic. Lying will destroy. The government has lived on the lie. It has pressed the lie forward and expects people to give it a pass and go, at the next lie, we'll buy it now. No, it's over. Those days are gone. And it gets worse. We've lied to other countries. Right? When we lied about the Gulf of Tonkin, it meant we sent 400,000 troops to Vietnam. And then we bombed North Vietnam with more bombs than we dropped in World War II. And North Vietnam is right underneath China. We were dropping them right over the hill from China after lying about it to China and the world. And now we wonder, why is it that China keeps wanting to build more nuclear submarines and aircraft carriers? Right? Why are we still that? Are they a potential threat? Hey, if I was China and I saw what the U.S. did in lying about the Gulf of Tonkin and then moving into Vietnam and bombing the hell out of my neighbor, I would never trust us. So this is bigger than Abrams. It's bigger than us. It is massive. The implications are enormous. And I encourage people to do the best you can to understand it, get up to speed on it, but maybe listen to this bigger picture from time to time. Because there's a lot more going on here than the president finally saying, yeah, there's ETs here, and most of us already know.
Stephen Bassett, thank you so much. What a great way to end this conversation. And everybody go to ParadigmResearchGroup.com. The links are over at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Stephen updates it and stays on top of everything over there. Great conversation tonight, man. Thank you so much, and I look forward to our dinner and me knocking a hole in your credit card, sir. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Stephen Bassett. And we just went straight to the end. I got to go straight to credits. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Kevin. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, SpaceboyMusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast owned and copyrighted 2021 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Thank you, Stephen Bassett. Tomorrow night, right here, Dr. Robert M. Schock. Until then, I want everybody to be safe because it's time to fade to black.